don't, or didn't really have time to get this correct. Right, let's get stuff loaded. So, trying something new as well, because I know how much of a pain adverts are. Let's see if this actually works. I mean, it's made it smaller, but there's no adverts. What about challenge? Nice, no adverts. For this, can I zoom in? Full screen? No? I think we've just gonna have to deal with a small map, so map. Cooking. Oh, that's probably invite me to this game. So I think Best New will be playing some games afterwards then. Oh, in the meantime, let us do the Steam announcements. Since we are probably going to have quite a few games this evening. Best Noob's already messaged me, so there's going to be some games with him potentially a bit later on, once we are finished with Toil and LocalgHost. More Elite League Season 4 games. Toilailee versus EL. LocalgHost. Best Noob versus... because I don't actually know who he's playing against. But at least we know there's going to be some lead games to be played, so I don't understand why this is so small, so... Okay, it's now normal size. Awesome. So they've already vetoed Lord General on the side of... on the side of who though? There's a list of rules on the forum. So, I didn't really have much time to set up, so I'm still kind of checking to make sure everything's working. So, I think we are okay though for now. That's so waiting for LocalgHost to finish cooking his meal. From there, that should give him the strength to go and fight Toil with all that he has got. Assuming he doesn't eat too much and gets indigestion. And we've also got Piano arguing with Indrid in Discord. What an interesting day. Hi Snowkips and hi Ventron. I will tell tell your words to my... Why was Toil trying to get me to come in like really quickly if we're still wasting anyway on Ghost? Could have had like a nice relaxed setup. Instead it's no, get ready now. Okay, but Ghost is done regardless, so we should be getting into this game fairly quickly. So this is going to be game 1 between these two players. They've not played any games of their series as of yet, and we have the countdown stopped for some reason. And that's because Toil is not greened up. And I'm not greened up. Let me green up. So, once all the observers are ready to go, so we've already had the Lord General and the APO vetoed. I'm assuming that Toil's APO was vetoed and LocalgHost's APO was vetoed.
What word?
But I'm not fully clear on that since I did miss the setup staging part. But starting off on the bottom side though, LocalgHost is going to be playing as a Tech Marine. His APO, presumably, was vetoed by Toil earlier. Meanwhile, on the other side, Toil, his Lord General was vetoed, so he is now going to be playing the APO. So we're going to have a Space Marine mirror match in the very first game, which seems to be a recurring theme in some of the series in the most recent couple of days. So, both players don't seem to be going for a double scout build, which I feel like would be quite good on this map given how large it is. So likely both going to go for a fast ASM. As soon as I say that, there is the double scout purchase. I guess I'm just a bit impatient waiting for that second scout squad to start being made. So double scouts, because of the size of the map, double scouts should be fairly effective. You could even go triple scouts if you really fancy it, but maybe a bit more difficult to pull off. And because both these players have both got the same colour scheme, it's going to make it a bit more of an interesting game to cast, going to rely very heavily on the colours of their health bars instead.
Adding support structure.
But we'll see. Toil does have the APO coming down this right hand side. Kraken rounds gets activated, but only effective against heavy infantry. Doesn't actually work against commander infantry. However, the exception is Standard Guard veterans. Their Kraken rounds are actually more effective against commander armor as well as heavy infantry. So a bit of aggression here from Ghost as he tries to aggressively push his scouts here. He is behind green cover, so I believe he will win that fight against those other scouts, only behind yellow cover as he'll have the damage reduction advantage. But we do have some tactical marines going to make their way in. Could try and force melee against these scouts, although they are just going to try and ignore the issue for now. The scouts going to try and make use of this building here. At least they're not home guns and won't get stuck. Toil looks like he should be able to assume control on this right hand side there, although Ghost may end up losing the model. Yapo is picked his target and is going for it. Tactical Marines can also try and force melee on retreat as well. On the left hand side though, we do see that Ghost is doing quite well in terms of map control. Actually, he's capping out quite a lot of the map against Toil, as Toil is trying to focus on winning the engagements. However, once the engagements are won, I imagine that Toil will be able to claim map control. Now we do see some upgrades on these scouts already. It's going to be a scout sergeant to begin with. No further upgrades have been purchased as of yet, as far as I can tell. So the Scout Sergeant gives you the ability to throw down grenade, which we are going to see. The 8 grenade is going to go down on that APO there. The APO does have his healer available, so we should see it go down. But overall, we could even see a melee Tech Marine in this game, although melee Tech Marine might get countered a bit too hard by an APO with a Storm Bolter, so potentially not. But with the APO though, generally you see ASMs get purchased, although I still like to go for a very heavy scout play myself in a Space Marine mirror match, because I think the scouts are just very versatile, can do many things very well. So we should see some shotguns on these scouts. The shotguns do provide a huge damage boost compared to the default bolters that scouts are equipped with, which allows them to do some significant damage to commanders and tactical marines, and also their shotgun blast for disruption purposes is very handy. These scouts, they're going to try and go in very aggressively. They do not have their grenade available, as they did use it earlier. They are going to lead the model, but overall Toil will be forced off from the mid side, but he does have some scouts on this right hand side going in for a decap, and is also going to reclaim his natural requisition point. Also, thank you Indrid for the sub.
Adding power generator.
So ASM for Ghost as well to try and match Toil's ASM. Only issue is going up against ASM with an APO support is going to be a bit more difficult. Does Ghost have a grenade available? Let's try and position himself for a grenade throw. Going to go slightly off to the right. Unfortunately not going to catch out in that right hand model. Does damage it significantly, but overall is going to remain alive, and straight away power node has been placed down to deny these scouts the decap here. Tech Marine and ASM doing a bit of blob capping on the bottom side. ASM are going to try and switch in towards the top side. However, with that APO support, it's going to be a bit harder to try and make use of. Good see the purification rights get purchased as well. Just provides some knockback at the same time. Like that scout model is going to fall down. Sergeant gets focused down. Sergeant, pretty tanky, is going to live overall. But ASM v ASM, but one with an APO supporting them. Ghost is going to use his jump to escape the area for the meantime. Although it does end up running into some tactical marines. Oh no, sorry, some scouts instead. Does get a bit harder to tell who is who, as both players in the same colour scheme and are playing the same faction. But some flames here for Toil. Going to get in a generator bash. There is nothing nearby actually for Local Ghost. Does have Tech Marine coming in from the right hand side, although he's a little bit low. Does have some attacks of his own which can try and force melee against that squad. Meanwhile, we have ASM being chased by ASM while they are chasing some scouts, and it looks like Local Ghost will be forced off on the mid side. He should use his jump to get out there to avoid bleeding any models, and will actually jump to the right hand side instead. Meanwhile, Flame Tactical Marines do get 3 generators in total. This one was repurchased instantly, so it's just completed building. This one was also just finished as well, and I believe a third one was killed, so triple generator bash against put Toil in a very nice position. You can already see the wreck difference thanks to the generators that have not had to be purchased by Toil. Meanwhile, Ghost, not too sure what these scouts are up to. Don't know if he's maybe checking how many generators Toil has placed down to try and gather some information. It can be useful to know how many generators your opponent has placed down, but not too sure if that was what they were up to. But regardless, though, map control is still very much in favour of Local Ghost. Map is looking incredibly red at the moment, with the exception of this VP and the points that Toil has currently got. VP wise, VPs are pretty even, 430 to 422. We should see both players take up tier 2 at similar sort of times. Toil does have the advantage in terms of requisition and power date, as Toil did not go for the Scouts upgrade and also did not lose any generators throughout the game. Tactical Marines though enter this building, but there are Flamer Tactical Marines from Toil on the way to try and burn out these Tacticals. So Local Ghost should probably vacate that fairly soon and then retreat back to base. Tier 2 now started by Toil. Local Ghost just lacking 50 requisition, and then he should be able to take up himself. That 50 requisition shouldn't be too bad to try and muster, given that he has got a lot of map control, but does need to set himself up for some defensive play before these Flame Tactical Marines come down and burn down his generator farm once again. This Tech Marine, we do have Artificer's armor, but no mines have been... saying that, some mines have been placed up here. Scouts do run into some of those mines. Some mines placed in this particular area would be nice to prevent these Tactical Marines from going in, or to try and slow them down a little bit at the very least. And straight away we do have the ASM Sergeant queued up for Toil in tier 2, so as soon as he does complete that, we should see one of them pop out onto the field, providing him with a much better time in melee combat. Does have the power sword equipped, so it makes it more effective against heavy infantry. Also gives him the merciless knockback ability, allowing to knock back units in a linear line. But Local Ghost going in very hard in this fight. His ASM taking a lot of damage here. These Tactical Marines have had all the damage that they've taken just healed back up already, so this is not the best fight here for Ghost. He will bleed an ASM model if he's not careful. Does have enough energy to jump once again, but use it aggressively to try and knock over these Tacticals. Does have Tacticals of his own, about to get knocked over though, and will end up falling back to base. A mine has been placed down here. This proximity mine should do some decent damage. Suppresses the units as well. So Toil going for a very fast Razorback. Local Ghost cannot afford anything of such. In fact, we don't have any other upgrades other than an ASM Sergeant for himself, but Toil's pressure on the generator farm stacking up to be a little bit too much. We do have a bit of a counter bash going on here. 2 generators have been taken out by these scouts, but the earlier generator farm loss did hurt quite a bit. So it's actually going to be a melee Tech Marine here. did mention about a melee tech marine earlier. From Toil though, we should see the Storm Bolter get purchased as a counter towards the melee tech marine. The Storm Bolter allows you to stun a single target. This is what can make certain matchups hard in Space Marines or certain things to make work. So melee tech marine, in theory, sounds really great. Being able to drain energy is very effective against ASM since it has 50 power melee damage. However, if your tech marine does get stunned, that's going to be a bit of a pain. You can always get the refractor shield as well for the tech marine to make him very bulky so that he can actually stand up against the APO stun and then resume fighting. But overall, it's a bit more difficult to make work. And he has gone for the Artificer's Arm, so he's a bit more tanky in comparison if he went to the Bionic, so he doesn't actually have the Sweeping Doom knockback ability, and also lacking the extra bonus damage that the Bionic does provide in melee combat, but overall, should still be a good combination. We do have the Razorback going straight away for the reinforced plating, giving it an extra 200 HP. So mines are actually quite effective against vehicles here, as you can tell. That does slow down the vehicle by a considerable amount, bring down by 80 HP, so the reinforced plating is going to be quite effective. A second mine detonates on the Razorback, now currently down to about 60% HP, although some scouts are in the area to get some repairs done. So we do have the Tactical Marine Sergeant get purchased here. Kind of surprised about going for a Sergeant first, rather than going for a Plasma Gun instead, or any other upgrades. The Tactical Marines are going to be forced off, so are these ASMs, and ASMs are going to try and dump in defensively, so it's leaving it down to the Tech Marine. He's going to try and do what he can to drain some energy off these units, and does bleed a model here by the looks of it. But he is going to get forced off, and Toil doesn't actually have enough energy to try and jump in, to try and finish him off, so he will be able to get away alive. You know, scouts versus scouts on the right hand side. Toil scouts are in a best position, could see a retreat grenade, although it looks like the grenade may have already been used given that the energy has been drained from the squad. And once again, power is potentially going to get bashed. So Sternguard Veterans is going to be the purchase here for LocalgHost. That's the reason why he did go for that Sergeant earlier. Sternguard Veterans effective against all targets depending on what type of ammunition they have selected. Can equip Vengeance rounds, they can select Dragonfire rounds, Kraken rounds, and I can't remember what the third round is called, but I know that's the round that's more effective against infantry. So we do see the anti-infantry rounds. This is not the most effective against heavy infantry. They should be switching to Kraken rounds against ASM and commanders, and that is going to be a dead Tech Marine. Does not have a shield available, and is just going to get absolutely mauled dead by Toil's ASM, and in fact LocalgHost's ASM very low, 65 HP, does end up losing his own Sergeant here. And we do have the Power Axe for the APOs to try and match the Power Axe of the Tech Marine. Grenade doesn't go down, does catch out a few models, but overall the fight is lost for LocalgHost, and with Toil applying a lot of pressure towards this Drainers farm here. I don't know if LocalgHost can try and make a comeback, having lost his ASM models, having lost his Tech Marine, not having a vehicle out to try and compete against this Razorback. It's definitely going to be a bit of a rough game for him to try and make a comeback in. So Toil having the better economy now. Do see some further upgrades for his own scouts. Previously they did not have any upgrades going into tier 2, but we do see shotguns and the Scout Sergeant. However, no elite training for them to provide them with health regeneration and energy regen. And with this Razorback can just freely drive around the map, just applying pressure wherever needed, while Toil does cap up the entire center of the map and then can apply pressure towards the more natural points of Ghost. The VP 391 to 148. The VPs have not been bleeding too much now for Toil since I had last talked about the VPs. Meanwhile, for Ghost, he has actually lost quite a few. So these Sternguard Veterans are really struggling to have much of an impact in this game due to the ASMs just being able to get on top of them on a frequent basis. Ooh, that's special though. From the APO, really killing these scouts outright. ASMs will try and finish off a couple of models on retreat, but the ASM's not having enough energy to jump. But it's not actually required. The Razorback with the plasma attacks going to be enough range damage to actually kill this squad. And with another squad lost there for Ghost, the game does become progressively harder and harder, and more in Toil's favour. You know, scouts v scouts here, these ones with shotguns tend to be much more effective. A grenade does get thrown down, but the grenade is avoided there by Toil, and overall he will defend that VP. Meanwhile, we do have Devastators coming in with a Melter Bomb equipped on these ASM. Venture rounds now equipped on the Sternguard Veterans. does look like that Ghost is going to make a last-ditch attempt effort to try and kill this Razorback once and for all, but it's going to be very difficult to do. But he decides to actually concede the game instead. So game number 1 going to go towards Toil. Apparently Toil only losing either 2 or 5 models throughout the entire game. Kind of hard to tell with the units killed and lost, because I don't know if the Artificer Mines counts as units killed and lost. Who knows? So Best Noob and Hive, hopefully they wait until LocalgHost was done, unless that was their game 2 potentially. So they've already got a map spinner up, so no point in me opening up my map spinner. Okay, let me roll a map. So Calderas Refinery is going to be the map choice here. At Hiveminion, if you are playing against Best Noob, I will cast your game once Toil and LocalgHost are done. So the matchup that they had previously vetoed, we are going to see that matchup. So previously they'd vetoed the Lord General and the APO. And we are going to see that matchup since they cannot veto anymore. Yeah, that Plague Cloud or Noxious Cloud from Dark Kiera against me was pretty nasty. What was it? I lost, what was it, 2 Catechins, 2 Guardsmen? At the very least, a lot of models related to it. But at least we were able to make a bit of a comeback in games 2 and 3, so yeah, that first game. I do need to practice a bit more Imperial Guard. So we shall learn from a player like Toil, starting off on the left side, playing as the Lord General. Could see a double Sentinel build from him potentially, although I don't know if he will go for it on a map like this. Probably just going to be a triple Guardsman build potentially. Although we've seen him go for just 2 Guardsmen and then 2 Catechins without a Sentinel in the early stages of the game, so could see a repeat of that. Although saying that, we do have that Sentinel on the way. Meanwhile for Ghost, he is going to go for 2 Scouts, and we should see some attacks come up. Following this, if he decides to not go for some Tactical Marines, then that is going to be a very difficult play to try and pull off. Deciding to go for the 2 Scouts. Scouts do build very slightly quicker. I think it's 20 seconds compared to 24 seconds of the Tactical Marines. So it does allow you to exert a bit more map control in the early stages due to that extra mobility. However, saying that, Ghost has actually placed on a power node first before getting his Tactical Marines out, so it's going to be a little bit more delayed. Don't necessarily need to put your power node down immediately unless you do see that the Sentinel is on the way. The power node over here as well, so these Tactical Marines are going to be severely delayed at this point. Tactical Marines do cost 450 requisitions, so LocalgHost 100 requisition behind that at the moment, so and also has to consider the fact that Tactical Marines have to have a build time as well. But Scouts, though, going to be forced off the field. Lord General is so good at leading models in the early stages of the fight, having a lot of range damage, having a decent amount of melee damage as well. The APO is going to come in to provide heal to the Lord General. You know, the APO is going to try and bleed a rescue model or 2. You know, the Sentinel does come in. Sentinel already having the Stomp upgrade, though, was purchased outside the field of vision there, so I don't know if Ghost was potentially expecting that. It's actually going to be very fast Devastators. Not too sure about going for a double Scouts and skipping Tactical Marines altogether. You can potentially make it work, but it is a bit more difficult to pull off in comparison to just having some tactical marines on the field just to provide that generic damage and bulk to your army. So scouts trying to scatter around here on this Requisition point. Don't think it's worth it though. Scouts are actually going to go down 17 HP. Can Lord General and the Sentinel finish it off? They can. You know, the APO heal is no longer available for him. Does need to be careful about staying in the fight too long himself as well. And I think the APO is down dead. You know, I do have scouts trying to melee down some guardsmen on this side, and with Toil placing down a multi-last turret on the generator farm with coverage of all points. It's not looking like the best start here for Ghost. So the scouts are going to try and run away. Devastators are on the field, but Devastators are forced off from the Lord General and that Sentinel, and it is 2 Sentinels here on the field as well. 1 Sentinel with a multi-last turret should be able to take down the generator farm fairly quickly. You see a second set of Devastators on the way, but with the APO down and only scouts in the field, it's very easy to disrupt these Devastators as there's nothing to really protect them at all. So one generator is going to fall. Devastators will be able to get set up here. Venture rounds are equipped, but the Lord General was able to get out the cone there just about, although Toil does retreat before seeing that available. It's kind of risky to have your Lord General that close to a Venture round Devastator squad, given that you only have 370 HP. To be honest, even having over 500 HP being in front of Venture round Devastators is kind of risky. But Toil is going to go in for the decap here as well. It's going to be an incredibly difficult position to break. Even if you do have 2 Devastators, the multi-last turret is going to be a massive issue. You see the damage there. Oh, Venture rounds that Sentinel, taking quite a lot of damage there. But as soon as Venture rounds do run out, the Sentinels can just try and go around. This multi-last turret though is pretty difficult to kill without Venture rounds equipped. You will end up needing more models. Sentinel has been able to flank around because of you not having any other units to try and defend. It's very easy for a Sentinel to try and get behind the enemy line and try and go in for a stomp, which is a risk of not having tactical marines on the field whatsoever. So he does have scouts in the field, but these scouts are mainly trying to capture or trying to get out of base at the moment. So Grenade is going to get thrown down on the Sentinel, but the Sentinel is going to avoid it. If the Sentinel did stay in position, it probably would have died to that grenade, since they do take quite a lot of damage from them. But we do see that the APO has been repurchased to try and provide some healing to these Devastators. The Storm Bolter is already on its way. But overall, Toil did end up losing the Guardsman squad earlier on that push on the power, but overall it's not going to matter too much, given that Toil is in control of the majority of the map. He can easily get out another Guardsman squad, although we'll just be taken up to tier 2 instead.
Our structure is targeted. So the generator is online.
So Devastators going to try and come around here, but this multi-last turret though having almost a 180-degree arc of fire. Venture rounds do need to be activated against this turret just to provide some additional damage against it. We do see a Toil is going to be backing away a little bit. Isn't going to try and defend this multi-last turret for the meantime. But I feel like he could have sent his Sentinels in to come from the side just to try and stomp these Devastators towards the multi-last turret. Tier 2 has been started by Toil with Tier 2 on completion. We should see 2 missile launchers from the Sentinel, which should allow them to poke down these Devastators from long range. At the same time, we could see a Stormtroopers squad as well with the Assault Kit purchase. But the full auto ability there from the APO, although his scout's getting caught out by his own grenade there, does need to be careful, and also may need to split his Devastators up a little bit more so that a single Sentinel Stomp cannot interrupt 2 Devastator squads at the same time. But the Devastators going to set up point blank at these Guardsmen here. You know, Venture rounds does not look like it's available, did not get activated in time there, otherwise could have potentially killed the Sentinel. The Devastators will be forced off the field. So tier 2 as well, could also see the sniper rifle for the Lord General to try and poke down these Devastators from a distance. Meanwhile, the APO had also gone down in the previous fight, or had went down once again. So scouts make their way back. Our base Devastators are going to set up here. Sentinel decides to back away upon seeing Devastators being fully set up. And we do see the double venture rounds going down once again, which definitely is enough to scare off a Sentinel. The Devastators going to try and leapfrog, set up their way forward towards the center of the map. However, you need to be careful. Two Sentinels can easily poke down the lead model if you're not careful. Creeping barrage though is going to force these Devastators to tear down. And will not go. It may even lose a Devastator squad here. That is going to be a dead Devastator squad. It actually does a surprising amount of damage there to retreating units, especially if you do time it correctly. But there is a Stormtrooper purchase here. For a Toilailee Stormtrooper purchase, can equip the assault kits, which does allow you to have long range on your Stormtroopers. Not enough to outrange Devastators, but also it gives you the ability to throw down grenades as well. And Stormtroopers by default can infiltrate, allowing you to easily flank these Devastators. However, there are scouts with sergeants. Well, there is a scout squad with sergeants, so there is detection available for a Ghost. But with that, Ghost is going to concede the game, and that does mean that Toilailee is going to win his series versus LocalgHost. So, Hiveminion versus Best Noob is going to be our next game of the evening. So let's jump in. And also Piano, I imagine he probably signed up because he wanted to play in a tournament for fun. So you don't seem too happy about him trying for whatever reason. Players got to start somewhere. So I'm going to spin a map for Best Noob and Hiveminion and then find out who is positioned where as well. So Outer Reaches is going to be the first map here. Let's have a look. So Challenge. Where is my mouse? So we want to try and find Hiveminion versus Best Noob, which is going to be game number 34, so Hiveminion is on top, so it'll be his commander pick first. So Hiveminion is going to go for the Hive Tyrant. Both players seem to be okay with this map, so no vetoes have been used as of yet. My brother has invited me to a game, but I'm already in a game here, so... So with Hiveminion going for the Hive Tyrant, we'll see what Best Noob decides to match up with. Let's have a look at the players' commanders while we're waiting for Best Noob to decide. So Hiveminion, Hive Tyrant, Ravener Alpha, Lictor Alpha, Mechboy, and Chaos Sorcerer. Meanwhile, for Best Noob, we have the Lord General, Lord Commissar, Plague Champion, Mechboy, and Warp Spider Exarch. Being one of the few players to have the Warp Spider Exarch actually selected in their roster, maybe even the only player actually. Let's have a look at that list once again. And Crid does have the Warp Spider Exarch selected as well. But yeah, not the most popular choice. So straight away, already a veto here. Lord Commissar will be vetoed, and Best Noob going to be switching up to the Mechboy. The only issue is that if you do veto in game number 1, you will likely see that commander in game number 2. So Best Noob is going to go for a bathroom break before we enter into this game. Always gotta prepare yourself, I suppose, before the start of every series. don't even want to consider what's going through the observers' minds in this particular situation. But following a quick break here, Best Noob appears to be back and starting the game, so we should be jumping into the game momentarily. So starting off with the first game of this series, Hiveminion on the right hand side playing as a Hive Tyrant. Going to be coming in with his Hiveminion colour scheme. Don't know what it's actually called or what he calls it, but Hiveminion always has that recognisable Tyranid colour scheme. So straight away going to be going towards his power. Meanwhile, Best Noob on the other side is going to go towards the mid side of the map with his mech boy going to be capping up that contested requisition point instead. So from Hiveminion and Best Noob, just see two range squads coming out. It's going to be double shooters, double termagants. Not going to see anything like a mass melee build in this particular game. Following up though, we should see Best Noob go for either Storm Boys. In fact, he may go looters, but I think looters could be quite good on this map given how small it is. There's plenty of opportunities to try to ambush opponents with it. However, likely to see Storm Boys or potentially a Pain Boy instead to provide some healing to the sluggers, but Spore Mines on the way here for a Hive. Let's see what the Spore Mines can actually get done. Given that the map is fairly small, it should be easy for these Spore Mines to try and find themselves in a position where they can actually get into the face of an enemy unit. However, Best Noob's actually going to be going for triple shooters. We've seen him do this a couple of times where he will go for double upgraded shooters and then keep a single shooter boy squad unupgraded to just be the capping units around the map. Triple shooters though, that is a lot of DAC area if you do upgrade all three of them at the same time. And they can morph through most infantry. And it does cost quite a lot to keep. So Mech Boy going to just be very annoying, just teleporting around the map where possible. Homgons are going in on these sluggers already. Going to adjust camera here so that it's actually possible to see what's going on. So the Homgons have been forced away. Sluggers are going to go for these Termagants instead. But the Hive Tyrant is here as well. Those sluggers are getting incredibly low here. Not sure if this is wise for Best Noob to keep them in the fight for so long, but we do see that they have been completely wiped there by the Hive Tyrant Spore Mines. Also coming in from the rear side, we'll try and deal with these shooters, but we do have the electric armor from the Mech Boy. Once you try and melt down these Termagants, we could see a squad go down, but the shooter boys here are not forcing melee. And Best Noob is going to lose another shooter boy squad here. That's two squads down in the very first engagement. Electric armor will go down once again, but Spore Mines on retreat. I don't know if that's going to be enough damage though. May pick off an additional model here. But so far the fight's definitely going towards Hiveminion for now. Sluggers down, a shooter boy squad down. Best Noob now down to just two shooter boy squads of his own. Does have control of the entire center of the map though, so is in a decent position in terms of map control. But that Hive Tyrant though has been a massive pain. So with the Warriors now out in the field, we'll probably end up seeing a Barbed Strangler as it's only just ranged units now in the field. Best Noob though is going to go for a third shooter boy squad once again. So definitely wanting to get a Barbed Strangler on this Warrior squad, I believe. But that Hive Tyrant though is going to be eventually forced away there, trying to chase down these shooter boys as much as possible. So Homgons with Warriors going to be a bit of a massive pain for these triple shooters to actually deal with, especially if there are no upgrades on them as of yet. We do have one upgrade which is just for the Mech Boy, which is just the electric armor. So he'll be focusing his time to try and get onto the back line to try and interrupt these Termagants. So that's why we've seen the Mech Boy trying to not teleport around too much. He's trying to conserve as much energy as possible so he can actually use this ability. Going to try and go for a wipe against this Termagant squad, but the electric armor runs out at the very last second. And Mech Boy not having another teleport ready since he has drained all his energy is going to be unable to wipe the squad. You know, Termagants and Homgons are going to come in for a power bash, but the Homgons are forced to divert their attention to these shooters instead. Needs to get Warrior support to come in here to provide some bulk to them. We do see the Mech Boy going to be buffing those shooters to reduce reload time to 0. And Warriors will come in here and try and pick off some models. Going to go after another Shooter Boy squad, going to go for the one that was weakened by the Homguns from earlier. The Warriors are not the best at trying to chase down enemy units. Homguns do a much better job at that, and the generator is also fallen. And best move is going to go for a 4th Shooter Boy squad here. 4 Shooter Boy squads, that is a lot of Daka, so should definitely see a Barb Strangler for this Warrior squad. Especially if all these shooters are grouped up together, a single Barb Strangler shot is going to be absolutely painful for these shooters to deal with, but so far no upgrades here for Best Noob, so he's just going to be going for this build. However, we have seen Best Noob at times with Imperial Guard go for 5 Guardsmen as his build, with kind of no upgrades other than the Sergeants, which he dubbed the Russian build. That's what he has called it himself. So I guess this is a variation of said build here, but for Orcs instead. Yeah, I feel like if Hiveminion here is able to just bring in more squads at the same time, he will just win the fight, just like this actually, with the Barb Strangler Warriors and these Homguns coming in at the same time. There's nothing that these quad shooters can actually deal with. If anything gets into their face, then they are immediately forced out the fight. So with this, Homguns are going to try and go in for a power bash. The Warriors should try and keep next to the VP so they can actually use the Barb Strangler shots against any shooters trying to exit out of base. Meanwhile, a Brood Nest is going to get placed down by Hiveminion, so we can always retreat upwards to try and reinforce and heal up any units, but we'll see what Best Noob can do with quad shooters making their way down now. Hiveminion does have a lower amount of power stored up at the moment, since Best Noob has not really invested any power whatsoever other than into the electric armor here for the Mech Boy. Barb Strangler Warriors do need to be a little careful here. They are taking quite a lot of damage. Hive-Tyrant ideally needs to be the one to tank here. So Homgun's trying to get onto that Mech Boy here, but the electric armor can only last for so long. You know, these Homguns so are trying to reinforce where possible, and the electric armor does run out, so Mech Boy is going to target the Barb Strangler Warriors, but nothing to really stop these Homguns from coming in here. Only issue is that the Homguns are having to come very far away from that Brood Nest, so they aren't able to actually benefit from the healing or reinforcement benefits of it. So Mech Boy has been forced off. Termagants are going to resume bashing while the Warrior Brood with their Barb Strangler are going to come in for a shot here. When you catch out one shot, so on one squad with the Barb Strangler. Just trying to buy as much time as possible, and these Termagants try and bash power on a consistent basis. Oh, the Hive-Tyrant is going to be forced off himself. Hiveminion should start taking up to tier 2 fairly soon, so it shouldn't be too far Best Noob in terms of tech. You know, that was a nasty Barb Strangler shot here. Best Noob is still keen on just not retreating his units at this point, does retreat this other squad. And we'll go with the electric armor once again, but the Mech Boy not really having much energy to expend here. Is going to just get suppressed straight away. I feel like these Termagants could probably just force melee against the enemy shooters at this point, given that they don't actually have any knob leaders here, so they're not really tanky whatsoever. Even the shooters having a bit of a difficult time just trying to deal with the Brood Nest alone, just taking their time to actually kill that. Meanwhile, a truck is on the way for a Best Noob, going to allow him to reinforce in the field, but with 5 million taking up, we should see a Venom Brood come out for him, or even a Venom Cannon on the Hive-Tyrant himself, which should be able to deal with the truck fairly easily. So from Hiveminion as well, truck was actually cancelled, but I'm not sure in favour of what, so I don't know if Best Noob is going to attempt to go tier 3 in this game. He's going to go for a Death Thread instead, so Hiveminion is going to get a Tyrant Guard out. Tyrant Guard should be able to do pretty well against the Death Thread, at the very least buy some time to get a Venom Cannon out on the Hive Tyrant or a Venom Brood squad on the field, if the Tyrant Guard is not going to be sufficient. Overall, the map is looking pretty red with Hiveminion dominating in most places. Electric armor once again going to go down. Does prevent these Homguns from being able to do too much here, but all that energy has been expended trying to deal with the Homguns and the Hive Tyrant is just going to be able to freely walk up to these shooters instead. So Death Dread has now been seen. Hiveminion, we should see back away from this fight in a little bit. Is just going to walk back towards the space to try and meet up with the Tyrant Guard. Tyrant Guard will be able to provide the heavy melee damage required to actually deal with the Death Dread on the field. So best thing, we also see him going for a slugger purchase here as well. Does need some repair support for the Death Dread. Already Neckboy himself can repair. And we have the 4-rack Swarm going to get thrown down onto the Death Dread here as well. Going to buy some time for the Tyrant Guard to try and catch up against it. You know, our Termagants on the top side of the map here. Not sure what these Termagants are doing before they were all grouped up together at the bottom side. I guess they're going to try and hold their area. They do need to make their way towards the top side and then try and retreat, but doesn't quite get that done correctly. So he's going to lose Termagant squad here. Overall, I don't think that will matter too much as the Death Dread, as long as he can kill that, should be in a decent position. So Ben Cannon, Hive Tyrant here, going to be trying to go into the fight. Homgon's also going to join in, but the Hive Tyrant actually backs away there quite early on, I think. You know, Warriors could try and force melee against this Death Dread. Repairs are going to go down. May end up losing Homogons here. I feel like Hiveminion is still in a better position overall despite losing 2 squads. But Electric Arm going to go down once again. The Mech Boy does actually have a decent amount of energy this time for when he does teleport in, so he may be able to wipe Termagant squad here. Although will not be able to do so. Second time, Tyrant Guard is on the way here for a Hive. Doesn't look like he was able to afford it with the global ability of the Hive Tyrant, so he's just having to purchase it outright in his base. Meanwhile, that Tyrant Guard should be able to kill that Shooter Boy squad, although it might be able to retreat down towards the bottom side. We do have the Knob Lead coming in here for the Sluggers. However, Tyrant Guard is just going to get special straight away here, which does allow it to do a large AoE chunk of damage there to that Shooter Boy squad, and that will be a dead squad. So Sluggers are now going to try and fight the Tyrant Guard here, and we'll lose that fight. We're now going to fight a Shooter Boy squad. Shooter Boy squad is going to lose that fight and be forced to retreat away. And with that, Best Noob is going to concede the game. I'm not really too sure about what we just saw. But Best Noob has got another game up and ready to go, so let's get joined in. So let's get a map spun for these players. So Leviathan Hive is going to be the next map. As Hiveminion won the previous game. His first pick. So he's already picked the Ravener Alpha. So Ravener Alpha on Leviathan Hive, I feel is a really good choice from the point of view that tunnels are quite good. But if Best Noob is going to go for Imperial Guard, can use Sentinels to try and easily walk over the tunnels, as you just need to move over it. But Best Noob does look like he's going for the play champion. Says he's ready. Is going to just start the game. Hiveminion is ready though, thankfully. So we can just jump into game 2 of the series. And also no worries Torpid. So Hiveminion, having already used Veto there against the Lord Commissar in game number 1, has no vetoes remaining, so we'll have to deal with the play champion whether he likes it or not. So starting off on the left-hand side, the play champion played by bbboscasts going to be sliming his way onto the field. Don't really know what to call it, but does leave a trail behind him of some sort. Meanwhile, Hiveminion is going to be tunneling his way around the map here as the Ravna Alpha with a tunnel already placed down, which does give him a slight boost if he does want to go towards the mid-side of the map, I guess. But bbboscasts is going to go for what looks like a standard build so far this game. Not going to see any quad heretics, not going to see any quad CSM or anything too crazy like that. He is only one game away from losing the series overall, so I imagine he's probably going to go for a bit more of a standard or a bit more of a serious build overall, and even trying to go for a quad heretics on a map like this when you're up against Tyranids is probably not going to work out too well, as Spore Mines will hard counter that. So from Hiveminion we should expect to see Spore Mines once again, just so good against heretics that it just really helps out quite a lot. So Spore Mines, the most recent patch, they did have their build time increased from 8 seconds to 12 seconds to try and delay how easy it is to get them out in the field in the early stages of the game. However, it's only a 4-second build time difference, so it's still fairly easy to get them out onto the field. So play champion going to try and pull back here from some Homogons. There are some heretics to provide some support here, so Hiveminion is just going to be forced to back away straight away. Homogons try and poke down some CSM, but decide to back away from the area. The Ravna Alpha on the top side of the map here, just trying to cap up where possible. The map control currently in favour of Hiveminion for now. But Blade Champion is going for a push on that VP. Meanwhile, Hiveminion is forced to continue to back away from all these fights. He does have Spore Mines on the way, and as this map is quite large and Spore Mines can't make use of tunnels, it does take them quite some time to actually get into the fight. But here they are, with their eyes set on these heretics. You can also go for the CSM as well. Essentially any unit that you can soften up will allow you to win the fights at a later stage, but these Spore Mines do buy a lot of time here as they do chase down this heretic squad. And we do see that Hiveminion is going to come in from the top side here. That CSM squad also forced to be on the move as well. Now Spore Mines are on the retreat path at the moment. They've actually gone straight for the VP though. They are going to be making their way back. Can see on the minimap then there's a red dot making its way slowly upwards. That is going to be those Spore Mines. So Ravna Alpha are going to try and force melee against these heretics, however with no melee upgrade at the moment. It's going to take a while for this Ravna to try and do a decent amount of damage to this heretic squad. So it's Baron Champion there, definitely making a huge difference in this fight, and the amounts of damage that he does provide. So with this though, we do have some warriors out in the field, which is going to make it a bit harder for this little forward force here of bbboscasts to actually try and win. We do have their second CSM squad here as well, but with warriors, and with there not being a healthy heretic squad to actually defend these double CSM, I feel like Hiveminion should be able to push through. So Homogons are going to be coming in here. We'll get to type the play champion or the CSM squad, or a bit of both, while warriors are going to go in for the other one. Being on the left-hand side, heretics are just still capping up. They've not actually participated in any fights as of yet. They've just been capping up throughout the entire game. Meanwhile, Hiveminion is going to start expanding outwards from his area. He's going to start trying to regain some of the map control once again, trying to get decaps on as many points as he can, while bbboscasts is still actually making his way over to base. The CSM are still retreating away after all this time. Meanwhile, Termagant's on the top side, going to hunt down some enemy heretics. So heretics there, finally going to be forced off the field, although they do get a decap against that fully matured requisition point. But these two Termagants though should be able to reclaim what has already been taken. Warriors though are going to choose to fall back for a little bit as these double CSM do make their way back into the fight. Play champion, we could see the Mucus Discharge, in fact we already have it purchased. It does allow you to heal nearby units up by a decent chunk, so always worth getting. Eternal War has been purchased for these two CSM. If you are going to go for a 2 CSM build, Eternal War is pretty much mandatory, since it does provide a 20% damage boost to each squad. And those warriors are taking quite a lot of damage actually. Not able to outrun these CSM and nowhere for them to hide, but the Ravna Alpha is going to come in. We do have this Ravna taking a lot of damage. Just trying to place down a Hive node. by the looks of it. We'll use Toxic Miasma rather. Ravna Alpha is going to fall Warriors are forced off as well, and Crippling Poison is used to stop these Heretics from advancing any further. But overall that Toxic Miasma was not too beneficial in that engagement. I don't know if it actually went off or not. Homeguns are going to come in, but the Mucus Discharge does heal these Heretics back up to full HP, and with this, Best Noob is going to be able to force his way through. So map was quite red at the moment, with Hiveminion having captured quite a lot of it, but map is probably going to now turn back towards Best Noob's favour, but we do see the Ravna Alpha has been repurchased so far. So it's only 10 damage per second, so it doesn't sound like a lot, or probably doesn't feel like a lot with the Mucus Discharge and these Heretics having the Aspirant Champion, so it'd make them even tankier. So good to see an Aspirant Champion as well for this other squad.
You may fail us this day.
So Best Noob is going to try and back away the other Pulse Triangle here. That suppression going to be quite effective against everything, with the exception of the Plague Champion. He does have the special ability to fire under suppression and also not be slowed down as much. So far we have not seen Touch of Nurgle get used as of yet, but Best Noob 158 red only needs another 13? No, not 13. I need a little bit more red, I can't bother to do the maths in my head quick enough. So with Touch of Nurgle, it should allow him to easily dominate a fight. He is doing pretty well in the fight so far, but Touch of Nurgle will allow him to win a fight even harder if he does decide to go for a big power push, or it's going to take him some time to actually make his way across the map to try and do that. You know, there are Heretics on the retreat path here, so Best Noob, if he tries to force engagement here and try and get some units to retreat, he can try and catch it out with that Aspirant Champion Heretics squad. We do see these Heretics going to get slowed down to prevent them from going into the fight. Oh my god, so we'll have a nicer retreat path and we'll actually make their way towards the top side. So Heretics are going to come in for a flank hit. And there's a loss of damage on retreat. You know, Toxic Miasma is going to get activated here by the Ravna Alpha, but it's just really not having much of an impact this game. I feel like the melee upgrade for the Ravna Alpha would have been a bit more beneficial instead. So tier 2 has been started by both players at the same time, but Hiveminion does look like he's about to have his power bashed completely. Don't know if he is going to be able to keep this Journeys of Farm alive. Doesn't actually have any tunnels close to this Journeys of Farm. Or nothing excessively close. Does have this tunnel over here, but nothing to try and get behind Best Noob, or nothing right next to the power farm itself. So Heretics are forced back away, but 2 Journeys have been taken out, and so has the power node, so Best Noob doesn't really need to contribute too much more into this fight, but is going to go in here. We do see Touch of Nurgle finally going to get used there. That is going to be a dead Homegon squad. And those Heretics just incredibly annoying, even knocking over the Ravna Alpha here, so Toxic Miasma will go down once again. You can see the NG being drained here from the Ravna Alpha. Warrior model has been bled there by the Plague Champion. And that Plague Champion is trying to remain in the fight for as long as possible. Great touch of Nurgle when he's not tier 2.
Our temple's dark majesty grows with our power. You are losing us a victory point.
I don't know if I was being serious or not. But Warriors though, I'm going to try and exit this tunnel. This tunnel still is fairly healthy. Meanwhile, that Ravna though has run out of energy due to leaving that Toxic Miasma up all the time. No, I'm not too sure. Bruce, it's kind of hard to tell if someone's being sarcastic in chat or not. But regardless, though, the VP is still fairly equal between the players, 376 to 354.
Enemies are
But Bloodlesses on the way for a Destiny. Meanwhile, Homogons have been actually repurchased here for a Hiveminion. Hasn't actually had the power to afford anything in tier 2 as of yet. At Sasha, assuming you were talking about the grudge match between Lemurs and Forest Radio, that grudge match has not happened as of yet and probably is not going to happen at all. So Homogons coming in here, but they don't actually have the Adrenal Glands upgrade like they did earlier, so that's going to be another dead Homogon squad here. They're just taking far too much damage in range to actually be able to get away effectively. The Mucus Discharge on these heretics means that Toxic Miasma is hard countered in this particular instance. It is still ongoing, but that Ravner is not tanky enough to actually sit there with Toxic Miasma. Even with the Regenerated Armor, it's just not quite enough against 2 CSM squads, focusing them down. And Bloodless is trying to get onto the back line here to try and destroy these warriors, but Hiveminion, his army is looking considerably weaker compared to Best Noob at the moment, and do see Best Noob is on his way to tier 3, could try and save up enough red to try and get Terminators out into the field. Terminators with an autocannon will have a high amount of ranged and splash damage to try and demolish Hiveminion's army. Would be very effective against these Termagants on the field. You know, for Hiveminion, he is really lacking the power to actually get anything else in the field for now. Kind of hard to say what he should try and go for. Tyrant Guard is going to struggle due to there being Bloodlesses already on the field. If Bloodlesses, or if there is a Tyrant Guard on the field, can see the Mark of Zinch upgrade get purchased instantly by Best Noob. Oh, good to see the Mark of Zinch upgrade as opposed to a tier 3 upgrade. Best Noob's army is already quite decent in terms of size. So instead of any tier 2 units, we're just going to see full upgrades here for the Ravner Alpha. So on top of the Regenerated Arm, we do actually see the Acid Splatter is a power melee splash damage weapon, which has allowed Ravner Alpha to deal some decent damage to the CSM. The only issue is that there's nothing to really back the Ravner Alpha up at the moment, since the rest of the army is looking a bit smaller in comparison to Best Noob. We already have the 4x Swarm upgrade as well for these warriors. Not too sure about going for the 4x Swarm, given the lack of a vehicle on the map, unless the 4x Swarm provides anything else. Increases the squad's health and movement speed, but overall I feel like getting a tier 2 unit out would have been a better choice as opposed to going for that 4x Swarm. So Ravner Alpha still trying to do what he can in the fight there. Our Rippers trying to tie up some CSM. That Miasma is still going down as well, providing some health regeneration to that Ravner Alpha, but overall he is going to get forced off the field, having to fight an army alone. The Brutality is also going to get torn down by these heretics, and so will this Ravner Tunnel. Power is also going to be killed now by these Bloodlesses, and Best Noob is just going to exert a lot of pressure in this particular section of the map outside of Hiveminion's base. Could try and push in a bit further and get decaps against the natural requisition points. So you do see have a Tyrant Guard on the way, but not too sure how effective this Tyrant Guard will be. 313 red Best Noob could be fairly close against some Terminators on the field. It needs 100 more requisition and only needs a bit more red. So Heretics are going to go in once again. Bloodlesses going to focus on that Ravner Alpha and actually get knocked back as well. But again, slowed behind the Crippling Poison, won't actually have the movement speed to try and chase in any further. And with that, Hiveminion is going to be forced back to base. 324 red at the moment for Best Noob. So still not quite enough red for those Terminators.
We shall triumph.
So Tyrant Guard now enters the fray, going to be leading that Tyranid army here with these Termagants and warriors in tow, but Best Noob is actually leaving the area for the meantime. Don't know if he wants to try and avoid the Tyrant Guard altogether, or if he's just scouting out this power farm on the top side of the map instead. But it's actually going to be a Land Raider Phobos here for Best Noob. Land Raider Phobos will pretty much deal with the Tyrant Guard fairly easily. But it's going to take some time before that to actually come out and have an impact in this game. It does have a long build time, nearly a minute build time, I believe. No, that Acid Splatter though, doing a lot of damage to that CSM squad. Ravner Alpha, unable to re-chase too far though. An issue with vehicles, they do push out your other melee units when you are trying to chase them down. So with this, we do see that Hiveminion is going to gain some map control momentarily, but with Land Raider Phobos on the field, the 4x Swarm from the Warriors, and the Tyrant Guard together is not going to provide enough AV damage to actually deal with the full boss effectively, especially when the full boss can use its cacophony to stun any nearby units. When supported by the double CSM, it's going to make it a bit difficult to try and make work. The second Tyrant Guard is on the way for Hiveminion. 2 Tyrant Guards still won't have enough melee damage to actually deal with the full boss effectively, especially when under support with 2 Heretics, 2 CSM, and a play champion, all to provide repair supports and damage to nearby units. So we could also see some upgrades here for the CSM at some point. Should see the Mark of Zinch upgrade get purchased, given that there are 2 Tyrant Guards on the field. The Inferno damage will be very effective against the super heavy infantry armor of those Tyrant Guards. At the same time, it will just provide more damage overall to anything in their way. Should see this Brown Champion get purchased for both squads at the same time. So Tunnel is going to get destroyed here. And Best Noob is just going to sit on the top side of the map for now. Could use Touch of Nurgle given that he has gone for the Land Raider full boss, but at the same time he could try and get out some Terminators given that he's got quite a lot of power and Requisition stored up as well. But the full boss makes its appearance. I don't know if it can actually drive up on the ramp, you know. But a huge cacophony here onto Hiveminion's army. It's going to stun the entire army, but there is nothing to really follow that up too much though. Would have been nice to see a Blight Grenade on the play champion to try and follow that up. But Heretics may end up going down. They're taking a lot of splash damage here from that Tyrant Guard. And Rippers are slowing this Land Raider to a crawl. Meanwhile, a second Tyrant Guard is going to come in, so it looks like Hiveminion is going to win this engagement here. Isn't going to be able to kill the play champion here. Bloodlessers are going to try and come in. I believe the full boss is stuck now at this point. He's trying to drive it. That's a huge loss there from Best Noob. Can easily get these Terminators out though. Does have the requisition, or in fact is lacking 50 requisition, but we'll see what Terminators can do, especially if they go for their Lightning Claws. They should be able to shred through these Tyrant Guards, but could also see a Predator as well at the same time. So Rippers are going to be finally dealt with here, and Hiveminion isn't too far behind in terms of VPs. There's only 100 VPs behind for now. So I do see a Venom Brood on the way in anticipation of another full boss, possibly. But like Hiveminion could potentially just keep his resources and just try and react to whatever the next purchase is instead. Says he hasn't got much range damage. The only range damage he's actually got is Termagants and this Warrior Brood with the Barb Strangler, so range snaps is not going to be too beneficial at this point. So these 2 Tyrant Guards though, going around are still going to be the Great Unclean One for Best Noob this time. We'll see if the Great Unclean One is going to be the one to not get stuck this time. We do see that Best Noob is trying to cap up other chunks of the map here with Bloodlessers and the Play Champion. The Play Champion going to work on that Capillary Tower. Hiveminion is actually going to go tier 3. His Drones farm is currently up and running at the moment, so can afford to do so. Thank you, Resonance 86 for the follow. Bloodlessers can try and start demolishing some of these tunnels in the area. Hiveminion is just going to go around as this big scary group. Then that Best Noob can't fight him head on at the moment until this Great Unclean One does reach the field, but the Great Unclean One, I don't know. We'll see how it does. I mean, could just go for some upgrades on the CSM. We do have one upgrade on the CSM, one Mark of Zinch upgrade. We should see the Mark of Zinch upgrade on the other one, and with that should be able to demolish these Tyrant Guards. We should see a decent amount of damage being dealt to that one, already brought down by 500 HP. He does get a second one, should be able to eat up these warriors, Venom Brood, Tyrant Guards, pretty much anything in infantry. See the amount of damage being dealt here. So does Venom Brood, forced to retreat almost straight away. You know, Bloodlesses have actually been able to tear down this entire Jones farm. Hiveminion hasn't really been able to spread out his units too much. But now, you know, Tyrant Guards appears to be getting a little bit stuck on each other there, trying to attack that Plague Champion. You know, I do have some units trying to deal with these Bloodlesses, but here comes a Great Unclean One. Demogorgons are going to have to keep on moving forward unless they want to be vomited upon by the Great Unclean One. 4x Swarm is going to go down, which will slow him for a little bit of time. And there is the second Mark of Tzeentch upgrade here for the CSM, should allow them to eat through most of Hiveminion's army, in fact. With 2 plasma guns equipped, let's see what they can do. 25 plasma DPS for each aspiring champion, 18 inferno DPS for every other model, so that is going to be quite a high number if you tally that all up together. So Neurophrobe is coming in once again, does have enough red as well for sure information, so can try and see these double CSM get nukes with a combination, as we did see from Hiveminion earlier. Well, it's actually just going to get used here instead. So Ravenelf can get pulled into his own turret information, actually knocking over a blue tower in the process. You see the 4x Swarm is going to get cast here onto the Great Unclean One. Meanwhile, Barge Strangler Warriors are going to try and suppress these double CSM as much as possible, but Bloodletters are going to get on top of it. Great Unclean One has taken quite a lot of damage so far, already down to half HP. These double CSM though are a massive pain. Rippers coming in though to try and tie them up. We'll be able to tie up one squad at the very least. We can see a second one coming in as well, but Bloodlesses are going to be a massive pain. Trying to get onto the backside as much as possible, but here is the Neurophrobe to provide some increased damage. Currently draining the life of nearby units, but does need to be careful. Those plasma guns can through its very fragile armor quite quickly. And with this, Hiveminion is going to call GG, and we will see a game 3 between these players. So, again, a interesting game. So Best Noob has already got a lobby up, so let's roll another map here for these players and see what the third map of the game is going to be. So Jarlow's Forge is going to be the third and final map, assuming no players are going to veto it. So let's find out if both players are happy with the map. If they are, then it should be fine. I think Best Noob only had to play champion as his only Chaos Commander selected, so Hiveminion is going to veto the map, so we are going to re-roll. Who made the map spin to have that sound? I do not know. We definitely need a new map spinner though. So, Calderis Refinery is the next map. What's a bad map for Imperial Guard? I feel like Jarlow's Forge would have been a bit easier to deal with IG on. So the commander has already been vetoed, so we could see the Lord Commissar or the Lord General from Best Noob, but at the same time we could also see the Warp Spider Exarch if he decides to go for that. Meanwhile, for a Hiveminion we could see the Lictor Alpha get played, potentially the Chaos Sorcerer, or what was his other pick? Mechboy. So with that, Best Noob is going to go for the Lord General here. Hiveminion unable to veto that. Meanwhile, BbBoS does have a Commander veto remaining, so we could actually see him veto the Chaos Sorcerer here if he does not want to deal with it. However, he seems to be okay with it, so once Hiveminion's got the Chaos Sorcerer selected, we can now get into the third game. BbBoS also mentions he is going to go ham this round, so let's see what he is going to do to show us some of that. So, in our third and final game of the series, BbBoS going to be playing as a Lord General with the Death Krieg colour scheme, so we will have plenty of breathing throughout this game. So straight away, a Sentinel has been purchased. Given that he said he is going to go ham this game, could we see a double Sentinel play? Could we see a triple Sentinel play? Or could we see the famous 5 Sentinel play? Probably not 5 Sentinels. But it's going to be a Guardsman squad to try and follow up that first Sentinel. And on the other side of the map, going to have Hiveminion, having already used 2 of his Tyranid commanders, is going to be now playing a Chaos Sorcerer. We'll see if he can land the Doom Bolts that he needs to try and destroy the Guardsmen on the field. But both players so far, their builds looking fairly standard. But you never know. So could be a lot of Guardsmen to try and follow this up. So it's going to be a third Guardsman squad, but a third Guardsman squad isn't too out of the ordinary here. We do see a 4th Guardsman squad get made. With a 5th Guardsman squad get made, then we know that BbBoS is going to go for the best new build. The Sentinel is just going to try and apply some pressure straight away there. Some Doom Bolts do some significant damage to the Sentinel and try and force it off, but overall, the Sentinel will be able to carry on poking down where possible. The Stomp upgrade is already coming in to try and deal with any heretics on the field, because they can use to deal with the CSM. Our Lord General is going to be engaged upon by some heretics. Our Sentinel's actually quite a lot of damage so far, does need to be careful of some Doom Bolts. Sorcerer has already consumed a heretic squad, so Doom Bolts there doing some decent damage. Sentinel still on 200 HP overall though. Now CSM are just trying to hunt down the Sentinel by the looks of it. They're still trying to make their way in. However, there are still Guardsmen on the field, so overall Hiveminion doing good job of trying to force off BbBoS where possible. However, I feel like units should have swapped places. The CSM should have tried to chase after the Sentinel, while the Chaos Sorcerer tries to chase after the Guardsman instead. So there's the potential to use 3 Doom Bolts here for the Chaos Sorcerer. I don't know if you'll have enough damage. Actually ends up missing the Doom Bolts there. Had that Sentinel been hit and he went and attacks in melee, that might have been enough damage. That Bolt Pistol though, doing a decent amount of damage to the Sentinel. CSM are going to make their way towards where the Sentinel is, but there are some Guardsmen in the area to provide some repairs. In fact, 2 Guardsman squads to provide repairs, while the BbBoS is currently not repairing the Sentinel as of yet, so we'll see what CSM can do. It's going to be a 4th Guardsman squad purchase here. Sentinel Stomp is on cooldown as well. So CSM not really wanting to commit too hard to that Sentinel at the moment. Sentinel Stomp though is back up. And that's going to be a huge Stomp, knocking over 2 squads at the same time. Heretics also going to try to go in for the Sentinel as well, but the Guardsmen, they do have that faster repair rate. So it makes it really difficult to actually try and kill the Sentinel in the early stages of the game. Now these Heretics without any Aspiring Champion are going to suffer here. We do have an Aspiring Champion coming in, but after the fight has ended, so they are going to be forced away. Meanwhile, I do have a 2nd CSM squad. In fact, the initial Heretic squad did end up going down. I'm not sure where they died at. Unless he decides to consume it back in base. So again, the Sentinel does remain live with 4 Guardsmen on the field. That is a lot of repair support for a Sentinel, making it very difficult to kill. You need to try and focus down the Guardsmen where possible, but it's easier said than done. The Doombolts were cast on Guardsmen that the CSM were trying to focus down, but Hiveminion kind of coming in one miss at a time. It's definitely hurting them quite a lot. He's trying to come in with everything at the same time. Yeah, Sorcerer though, not the most tanky of commanders in the early stage of the game with only 650 HP. Taking quite a lot of damage so far. But these Flaming Guardsmen are quite low. Sentinel can be dealt with. Dealing with 4 Guardsmen is going to be a lot easier here. But overall the map control is very red at the moment as Hiveminion is kind of struggling just in the insides of his own base.
We have the requisition point, sir. Sir, power node is ready.
So Guardsmen still on the left hand side, meanwhile Guardsmen on the right hand side will just repair the Sentinel. Havocs are on the way. So with Havocs you can use the Chaos Sorcerer's global warp abilities to try and warp it. Havocs are already set up, however it can be difficult to try and make work in a situation to your benefit. Well, CSM currently standing out in the open here, do need to be a little careful. There are some more Doombolts do go down, but so far have been largely avoided by bbboscasts. So with Havoc set up in the center of the map, they should be able to provide some decent suppression support and also try and force the Sentinel to go down certain paths if it's going to try and go in for a stomp. Our Lord General can also equip himself with a grenade launcher just to be really annoying. So Havoc's going to be forced to set up, but there's not going to be any protection for these Havocs though. Our Lord General is trying to force money against this Havoc squad, but with Lord General getting focused down, the Sentinel does have the time to actually come in here, and the Sentinel can just wait behind these Havocs before the stomps come to cooldown and try and stomp these Havocs away. So there is a Flamer equipped on one of these Guardsmen squads still, so with bbboscasts you should be able to bash down this entire generator farm. Don't think the Havocs will be able to get out in time. So there goes one, there goes a second. You see Hiveminion is making his way back out of the base now, but the Chaos Sorcerer, currently at half HP, will need to consume one of his Heretic models to try and remain healthy in the fight and have a decent chunk of energy. These Guardsmen are also fairly split paths as well, so Doombolts are not going to be the most effective against them due to how split that they are. I would claim that Guardsmen are at the very least forced away, but that power node is not very tanky whatsoever. The Sentinel can easily finish that off at a later time. And Lord General is just going to be firing from the upper ground as he is camping up the victory point. The Sentinel and Guardsmen will back away towards the centre. Lord General is going to vacate to the left hand side, and that Chaos Sorcerer has really taken a lot of damage just trying to go in here. Our bbboscasts does have the resources to actually take up to the next tier, while Hiveminion currently lacking the resources to do so. Chaos Sorcerer is going to go down, and Lord General is going to be able to back away here. The Heretics on the retreat path of the Lord General, not healthy enough to remain in the fight for much longer. Sentinel, you know, the ECSM model before backing away, so very unfortunate here for Hiveminion. The VPs are taking down big time, 271 to 500.
Sir, we're losing a victory point out there.
CSM, they have been bashing power while the fighting has been ongoing, but overall not being able to achieve too much here. And with that, Hiveminion is going to call GG, unable to break through the quad Guardsmen here with that Sentinel, which is providing so much support for all the Guardsmen on the field. So with that, Hiveminion is going to lose the series, but bbboscasts, I think he's currently undefeated still at this point then. Have a look. So current standings then, bbboscasts should now be 9-0 in his series. Currently has another 7 games to play, or 8 games to play, as there are 17 games in total, as you do need to play against one of each person. I think I've probably got the most games played out of anyone else, with 14 of them done. Well, quite a few players that are coming up to double digits as well. So Toil has got a league game up. Imagine he's playing against bbboscasts at this point, or potentially Redbeard, or Hiveminion even. Oh yeah, I need to roll a map, don't I? Well, Calderas Refinery is going to be the map choice. Get to see that again. Okay, let's roll again. Or unless he's asking again. Okay, so both players are happy with the map. Let's have a look and find out who is on the top side of the bracket. So here is Toil. And where is Best Noob? Not Best Noob, Hiveminion, sorry. Game 116. So Toil is first pick. Toil is going to go for the Tech Marine, and we'll see if Hiveminion decides to go for the Hive Tyrant. I'm actually going to go for the Lictor Alpha this time. That's a brilliant comment to be made against Pianet. But I think it was a mixture of maybe it trying to path when there was a Capillary Tower blocking the pathing of the Land Raider. But starting off into this game though, Toilailee on the right hand side going to be playing as a Tech Marine. We're going to have Calderas Refinery as our map choice again, since it is the will of the random map picker. We're on the other side of the map, Hiveminion going to be playing as a Lictor Alpha again with that Hiveminion colour scheme again. So Hiveminion going to be going for double Termagants. We should see Toil go for potentially double Scouts, or they may decide to skip the second Scout squad and just go for a double Tax instead, or potentially go for an ASM squad. But we'll see. Does have 210 and is going to be a secondary Scout squad. Given it's Lictor Alpha, I probably should see a Scout Sergeant at some point to try and detect where the Lictor Alpha is. Unlikely to see too much Devastator play given that it is a Lictor Alpha, but we shall see. So the Tech Marine himself, potentially Barnax could be the way to go, but we've seen the Artificer's Armor get purchased time and time again, so may decide to go for that instead. So with Lictor Alpha against Scouts, you always want to attack the Scouts instead. It's very easy to pick off a model. Let's attack them twice, use Flesh Hook, and that's going to be a dead model. You can keep track of which model is one that requires the Flesh Hook. And to be fair, either one of these two could be Flesh Hooks at this point. Our Scouts do cost quite a bit of requisition to reinforce, not as much tax, but still a decent amount. It's always worth trying to do that. It also gives your Lictor Alpha some free experience points, and forces them to have weakened Scouts on the field.
Support structure complete.
So Tech Marine is again dived upon. That's a good point actually. I've not. Don't know if I've got the ESL report running. I do. That's fine. So Tech Marine is currently running away at the moment. Meanwhile, we do have Tactical Marines going to go in for these Termagants. And around for that, the Lictor Alpha. Currently out of energy, having used all of it trying to infiltrate early, but doesn't actually necessarily need it. So shotguns here. Shotgun's actually getting cancelled here due to the Lictor Alpha being able to infiltrate at the very last second. He gets right into the face of these Scouts here, and now it's going to switch targets to these Tactical Marines, or they're going to try and force melee against these Termagants instead. So Lictor able to pick off another Scout model there, so really good by Hiveminion in the early stages to pick off a couple of models here and there. But no upgrades for the Lictor Alpha as of yet, as this is the early stages of the game. So we do have a Warrior squad on the field. Hiveminion tends to go for Warriors first rather than any Raveners or any upgrades. So let's see what these Warriors can do a little bit later. They do try to initiate their fights by trying to jump in, which can be annoying for either player. Sometimes annoying for yourself if you are the one using the warriors, as sometimes you just want them to just walk up and attack units, especially if the unit is retreating away. Those scouts are going to equip themselves with a sergeant. Sergeant does allow you to detect units on the field, but this Lictor Alpha has spent a lot of time infiltrated. Does need to try and save up some energy so they can actually use Flesh Hook at some points in the map. Control looking pretty good here for a Hiveminion. Termagants are going to try and walk away from these scouts as they do not want to get hit by a grenade. Going to try and avoid that retreat grenade for now. The Lictor Alpha and these warriors are going to try and make their way in. Scouts should be able to kite. Shotgun blast is available. Grenade can be thrown at the scouts' feet as well to try and deter any melee. So that is going to be a dead generator. I don't think the scouts can defend it. They are going to try and go in and repair it at the last second with a shotgun blast to knock away these melee units. However, the Lictor Alpha is just going to go in a bit further. We do have a second sergeant, so Toil is going to go for a very heavy scout build in this game. Termagants are now switching focus to these scouts instead. That Lictor Alpha is a little bit low. Could get hit with a retreat grenade here. But it looks like it was predicted to be somewhere else instead. Now these warriors though doing a good job. So far, grenade is no longer available. The scouts that did have a grenade available have retreated back to base, meanwhile the other ones had already thrown a grenade and missed. Meanwhile, Termagants, not too sure about them trying to fight these tactical marines behind cover, but there are some Homguns trying to come in from the top side to provide some support. So Tech Marine himself, no upgrades have been purchased for him as of yet. But it doesn't look like we'll see many upgrades for him as he's just off to the side capping, but I think Barnabas can be quite good if the Homguns ever try and stop him from capping on the side. Barnabas will allow him to win that engagement as the Sweeping Doom ability does have a fairly short cooldown. So far, the pressure here from Hiveminion against the generator farm is definitely starting to stack up. Should be able to finish off this one generator and may decide to back away afterwards. These scouts are quite low. Another shotgun blast is going to go down, so no grenade should be available. But these scouts, absolutely mauling the infantry there with their shotguns. Shotguns dealing quite a lot of damage, about 14 DPS each, is it? 14.5 DPS each. You can imagine with 8 models that's going to be over 100 DPS in total. The VP is currently in favour of Hiveminion. Same with the map control for now, although Toil is doing a good job of trying to catch up. Raveners coming onto the field. Raveners with their high burst damage should be very effective against these scouts, especially if the Lictor Alpha is able to pull in the Scout Sergeant. Raveners can focus down that Scout Sergeant. You know, in the mid side of the map we do see a drop pod has also been called in. Scouts though trying to get jumped upon. For the Lictor Alpha, we do see the Adrenal Glands upgrade get purchased. The armor does provide the Lictor with some additional health, energy regen, and health regen, although only by a small amount. Would be nice to see a weapon upgrade though, namely the Toxic Miasma, as I keep raving on about. Definitely my favourite weapon upgrade in Tier 1 over the Feeder Tendrils for the Lictor Alpha. So Raveners currently on the field here, but going towards the top side of the map instead of trying to join the main force down this left-hand side. I feel like the Homguns could remain on the left-hand side while the Raveners come down, as they're pretty good in melee combat. The Toil very grouped up here. These scouts though are a little bit low. They do not have the elite training upgrades, so they do not benefit from the health regeneration outside of combat. So it does cost 15 power for each squad, and it is going to be Shotgun Blast. I don't know if Toil just used both Shotgun Blasts at the same time there. It looks like the energy was depleted from both scouts at the same time. I think you want to try and use it on one squad at a time, so you can spam it for a second time at some point. But that is going to be potentially a dead scout squad. Lictor is focusing down the Sergeant here. Sergeant's taking a lot of damage. 1 HP will go down. At the same time, Homegun's trying to back away. Overall though, that trade is really great for Hiveminion, especially if he gets Homeguns away, which he will. Now Tactical Marines are going to focus down here. The Termagants will probably get forced away here. But I think Lictor could probably be a massive pain still by a lot of time. Meanwhile, Raveners are still just capping up on the right hand side. Raveners have decided to not join this fight. And that Lictor though, just putting in some absolute work here. Tactical Marines actually reinforcing on the field here. Lictor though is eventually going to be forced off the field, so these Tactical Marines need to be careful about going to the right hand side. If they end up going into the Raveners, they may end up losing the model due to the Raveners' high burst damage, especially if the model on low health gets focused down. Tactical Marines decide to back away. For now, Scouts are going to make their way back onto the field, but again, without the elite training, there is no high health regeneration. The elite training also helps because when you do retreat away, you are considered outside of combat, so you do benefit from the health regeneration there. So it can definitely help keep your scouts alive when retreating away, but we don't see that from Toil at the moment. We do see that the army is grouping up to the center once again. Warriors, Homogons, Termagants. It's going to be quite a lot for Toil to deal with, especially with one scout squad down and a tactical marine squad with less than half health remaining. These tacticals are just going to continue to back away for the meantime. Meanwhile, Toil, he is tier 2, does have the resources to get out, raise back on the field, is going to get raised back out onto the field as well, just as I say it. So with Dreadnought, Dreadnoughts are too risky to go for against a Lictor Alpha since he can call in a Venom Brood fairly easily with the Lictor Global ability. Venom Brood very effective against walkers, whereas if it's a Razorback, it's a bit cheaper. Don't mind too much if they do call in a Venom Brood since they are quite expensive to call in. So, Tactical Marine model getting pulled in, probably going to die. Squad currently at 250 HP. I think he's pulled in the one that was on full HP, the one that was recently reinforced, because it took a while before the squad actually lost that model. So Termagant's trying to force melee here. We'll take down a second model. These scouts will be able to get away with all models alive. Second Tactical Marine squad is going to get inflicted there by the crippling poison, as Warriors are going to come in for that Tech Marine. Tech Marine doesn't have any weapon or armor upgrades for now, so we'll see. So Raveners have been working their way on these generators. Should be able to get a second generator, although you see a smoke bomb has been dropped from the Razorback onto the generator farm, which does allow it to take reduced range damage from the Raveners. Raveners could have tried to force melee against it, but not wanting to bleed any models to this Razorback, they decide to just leave the fight instead. So we have a Zone Throat for a Hiveminion. Zone Throat's great against double Tactical Marine builds, especially if those attacks group up together. These Zone Throats with their long range and their psychic damage are quite effective against that type of infantry. We do see the 4-axe swarm here for these Warriors, does provide them with some additional health, and also gives them some higher movement speed, also gives them the ability to disable vehicles for a short amount of time. Meanwhile, the Zone Throat does have the Focus Warp Blast ability to damage Razorbacks, or any sort of vehicle. Let's case a Razorback. This combination should bring it down to half HP, will force Toil to start repairing it, and I believe that's the global repair, the Blessings of the Omazai being used instead of any scouts repairing it. These scouts though, taking quite a lot of damage. Meanwhile, Venom Brood has been called in. Venom Brood are going to start working their way down onto this Razorback. Scouts are so low. Scouts will actually go down here. Rear armor hits. Just outside of range though. The Warriors have been forced off. Double, oh no, just a single plasma attack, sorry. So quite a lot of damage here from these plasma attacks, especially with Sergeant as well in the squad. Zone Throat is getting focused down, so it will back away in the end. Got 2 scouts down now for a Toil. That's a lot of mobility gone. That's a lot of repair support lacking now for the Razorback. Tech Marine is going to be the one to repair this Razorback instead, and Hiveminion having a strong position here in tier 2. Let's see what the Razorback will do. Going to be a relay beacon. The relay beacons being a tier 2 purchase. I don't know about this relay beacon. We'll see how it works though. So the relay beacon does allow you to retreat to the relay beacon as opposed to having to retreat all the way back to base. The only issue is that Toil's army is fairly weak, so I feel like the relay beacon can easily get overwhelmed by Hiveminion if he just groups up all together as he is now and just goes straight into this side of the map. Raveners are going to lead the engagement here. Smoke bomb has been thrown down onto these tactical marines. Meanwhile, this Tech Marine at the backside is being focused down. That Razorback has taken so much damage so far. The relay beacon has been scouted out. Venom Brood are still moving forward here. Tactical marines also getting focused down by these Homogons. Have a Venom Brood will now switch focus to this relay beacon instead. Tech Marine will go in for some repairs, but the repairs are not going to be quick enough here in comparison to what the Venom Brood can do. Lictor and these Warriors are going to try and work on these tactical marines. We do have an upgrade here on the Lictor Alpha. It's going to be the Scythe ability, or the Scythe weapon upgrade. Provides you with a nasty amount of power melee damage, so very effective at trying to pick off these models here. As going to be a dead Razorback. Tactical Marine Squad is in risk of going down as well. The relay beacon has also fallen. With that, Toil is going to pull GG here. Hiveminion is going to take game number 1
Is our shame.
in the series, so we move on to game number 2. So let's see if the players have got another lobby hosted. So Vulcan Pits is going to be that choice here. We do see a lot of players deciding to veto it. Yeah. So Hiveminion, I imagine, is probably going to be playing the Hive Tyrant in this game. We could see Toil try and veto it, forcing Hiveminion to go for the Ravna Alpha or something else. Okay, so Hiveminion is okay with Pits and is going to call for the Hive Tyrant. Meanwhile, for Toil, does have the APO potentially if he wants to play Space Marine still, but does decide to veto the Hive Tyrant, so Ravna Alpha instead. Oh, no, Toil wants to veto the map. Or wants to play it on Swift's maps, apparently, for whatever reason. So, Outer Reach is going to be the next choice. I'm not too sure why players dislike the map. So Toil, now that he's already used his veto, cannot veto for a second time. Toil probably not the happiest about the next map choice though. So Hiveminion is still going to be sticking with the Hive Tyrants on that map. Hive Tyrant I feel like is quite a decent pick on Outer Reaches, just due to the fact that you can try and push in from the top side of the map and place down a Brood Nest, as we did see against Best Noob in his game. So Toil is going to go for the Lord General. We still need him to actually change the map over to Outer Reaches though. So I'm going to set myself as ready. Once Hiveminion is ready, imagine that Toil will begin the game. So no one vetoing the Lord General. So Lord General on this map, I feel like should be pretty decent. Don't know if we'll see Toil go for a Sentinel, since we have seen him go for a double Guardsman build into double Catechism. We could see something similar on this map, just due to how awkward this map can be. But as we jump into the second game, Toilailee on the right hand side here as a Lord General. Left hand side we're going to see Hiveminion as that Hive Tyrant. So straight away Toil will be going to be going for a double power capture in the early stage of the game. The Lord General towards the bottom side, while the Guardsmen take the upper side. Power instead, or the natural power. So Sentinel is going to be purchased here, so Sentinel shouldn't have too much of a difficult time. I know some vehicles have a bit of an awful time trying to path around certain areas of this map and just make it an absolute nightmare. I think they have to sometimes pass through the center entrance as opposed to one of these top entrances, but the Sentinel, as it's a bit of a smaller vehicle, shouldn't have any issues with it, but you never know. So Sentinel on the field, Toilailee is going to place down a generator. So we won't see a third Guardsman squad as of yet, but could see a third Guardsman squad coming a little bit later, but may just decide to go straight to 4 Catachins or a heavy weapons team instead. Small mines already being purchased here for Hive, probably going to send them towards the mid-side of the map here to try and catch out some Guardsmen. Meanwhile, he has got his entire army on the top side of the map, so we'll see if he decides to keep it all there, or if he decide to send the Homogons elsewhere to try and cap up elsewhere. So Hive Tyrant is just going to come in, start demolishing some terrain. Sentinel will also do the same thing. To carve itself out a little path here. So Stomp upgrade straight away for Toil. Going to be used to keep the Hive Tyrant under control and these Homogons away from the Guardsmen. Can also be used to knock back the Spore Mines, but the Spore Mines can't actually be stunned, you can only knock them back slightly, so probably not the most beneficial, especially as a Sentinel can also be poisoned and spread that poison to the Guardsmen, despite it being a vehicle. But the Hive Tyrant just going to be incredibly annoying here while Hiveminion does cap up other parts of the map. Spore Mines are making their way through the mid-side of the map here. So could try and chase in towards this Guardsman, but may decide to just put him off to the side for now. But Toil is going to be going for a double Sentinel build here. Double Sentinels require a lot of micro to try and pull off. And they sometimes can fall off a bit later on in terms of scaling. So Spore Mines, where are they currently at? They're currently in the centre of the map here, while we've got Termagants trying to bash a power node on the top side, but the other Sentinel out in the field. Hiveminion probably wishing that he had gone for a Ravenous squad instead of a Warrior squad this early on, so we should see Ravenous come out though as a next purchase. I don't think that he'll go straight towards tier 2. So on top side of the map here, Termagants trying to fire at these Guardsmen. Meanwhile, Homogons are a little bit low here. Spore Mine's going to try and poke their head around the corner, but that's a lot of ranged fire support available here to try and stop them. There's going to be a third Termagon squad here for Hiveminion instead. So with the third Termagon squad, that's a lot of consistent damage against these Sentinels. Should still be okay, especially if you can place down a Brood Nest, which you can as the Hive Tyrant. You can easily overwhelm someone with triple Termagants or 4 Termagants, because that's just a lot of range damage. But we shall see if Hiveminion can make this work, especially with Bar Strangler actually. That could be quite a nice build together. Sentinels will need to try and stay at range while the Warriors can try and chase after the Guardsmen. Termagants then can continue to advance a bit further forward. So as long as Hiveminion remains grouped up, should be in a decent position. Can also place down these Brood Nests, which only cost 100 red. So you can actually reinforce these Termagants on the field, but it's going to be used to invest a lot into these upgrades. So Catachins are on the way here for Toil. These Catachins will be used for their all-unreliable grenade launcher to try and knock back these Termagants. We do see some nice splitting here of the squads where possible. Where these 2 Termagon squads are kind of grouped up at the moment. Overall though, the Sentinels are fairly healthy. So with this, we could see Hiveminion start to make his way towards the top side of the map here with the remainder of his army. Try and place down a Brood Nest and then try and reinforce on the field. But Catachins are here. Let's see what these Catachins are going to be doing. Going to be using their Shotgun Blast against these Warriors here. If they are able to get into melee combat against these Warriors, they should have a good time, but it's very difficult with Barbed Strangler and also with Crippling Poison available for this one Termagon squad. We should see the Toxin Sacks upgrade coming for these other squads. You see the second one is currently on the way, but we don't have a third one as of yet. You can see the amount of damage that these triple Termagons can deal, especially to these Sentinels. If they get close enough, ooh, the Sentinel stomp. It's a bit risky. Could be a dead Sentinel. That's one Sentinel down. Going to make things a much smoother ride here for Hiveminion going forward, as he just keeps Toil locked into base here. There is one Guardsman squad out in the field at the moment, so but Hiveminion, the pressure is going to run on fairly soon. Does need a Brood Nest placed down. No Brood Nest has been placed down as of yet. So these Guardsmen here still going around. There are some Homogons towards the top side. These Homogons though are a little bit low. Guardsmen, I think these Homogons are a bit stuck. They're saying 6 out of 8 models, but I can only count 5 on the screen. So one of them is currently stuck underground and bugged out. Oh, here's this other one, as he lags behind the rest of the pack. And ends up dying because of it. So the Termagants do make their way towards the side. We do have full upgrades now for these triple Termagants. Catchings can try and place down some IEDs if they want, but the only issue is that there are warriors which are detectors on the field. So probably best to not place down IEDs unless you can try and get them on the retreat path of these Termagants instead. The Hive Tyrant goes in once again. Sentinel trying to go in for a very aggressive stomp against these warriors. Not too sure about this decision though. It's a lot of damage here. Two squads are still able to focus down that Sentinel. Catchings do come in with a last second knockback to try and save the day. The Homagot's going to come in. These Catchings taking a lot of damage. A med pack is handed out to these Catchings, allowing them to heal on the field, but the Homagot's going in with another bar triangular shot landing. Those Catchings are eventually going to be forced off, but the Homagot's as well will receive the same treatment. Lord General though is going to try and force melee against these squads, but he has been inflicted there with a crippling poison. A second crippling poison is available here for Hiveminion to use. We do see it go down. And Guardsmen are the main focus at the moment here. One Guardsman squad has been forced off. The Lord General is still trying to get as close as he can to that Warrior squad. Meanwhile, Sentinel going to attempt another stomp once again. This time a little bit safer as there's only 2 Termagants focusing it down as opposed to 3 with the Barred Strangler Warriors. So far we should see both players aiming to get towards tier 2 fairly soon. Toil looks like he does have the slightly higher piggy bank to do so, although both players still lacking the power at the moment. But overall not too far away. So that control is fairly neutral actually. All 3 points in the centre and top are neutral. There's bottom one about to be neutralised as well, although Toil is going to lose this one here as Hiveminion is going to capture it. Hive Tyrant though, 80 HP, 35. Oh, reliable on retreat, not quite enough there. So Hiveminion going to be the first one to tier 2. Toil does have the resources to take up to tier 2, so we should see him start that in a moment. You know, these Barred Strangler Warriors though, only on 2 out of 3 models, currently at 374 health. So definitely need to try and reinforce where possible, or try and heal up a little bit. But no brood nests have been placed down so far here from Hive, so I'm kind of surprised by that. So heal pack going to go down once again here on these Catchings. Doing a pretty decent job against these Termagants. As long as they don't bleed any models. Catching models do cost power to reinforce, so definitely want to try and avoid bleeding them where possible. Oh, they're absolutely demolishing these Termagants for now. We do see a smoke grenade going to go down. That looks a bit more dramatic than it needs to be. And now they are going to be forced to retreat away. Meanwhile, Toil, on the top side of the map, we do not have any flames on these Guardsmen as of yet, but it's going to be a multi-last turret game placed down here, but the Homagants are trying to come in. Homagants may be able to stop this in time, but Sentinel does have Stomp available, so we'll see if Stomp can defend these Guardsmen. We'll catch out a few models here. But overall, I feel as if Hiveminion can just come through the centre here with his triple Termagants and try and force his way through. So tier 2 now completed for both players. We see a Chimera on the way here for Toil. Meanwhile for Hiveminion, may decide to go for a Venom Brood to just provide range snaps to these triple Termagants, but that is going to be a nasty, creepy barrage. Overall shouldn't wipe any squads here. Does come very close though, that squad with 11 HP. Beyond Power is getting bashed quite hard here by Toil. One generator has already fallen. The Kaburu Tower has to be focused down by the Lord General in case any spawn mines do come out at the end. Oh, that Master Lass just sprays over the generators, missing a lot of the shots though, although they are all actually hitting. So it's going to be a Tyrant Guard here for Hiveminion. We'll force some sort of AV on the field here for Toil. Toil will probably react with some plasma guns for his Guardsmen, potentially get a missile launcher for the Sentinel. And could also potentially go for a Melsa gun on the Lord General as well to provide the ability to allow the Guardsmen to fire a bit quicker and also just some Melsa damage in general. So Sergeant going to get thrown into the Lord General here. And the Tyrant Guard is going to advance further forward, so just keep the power node alive at the very least so you can get some power nodes or get some generators out of the field fairly quickly. You need to wait for the power node to be repurchased. That Commissar awkwardly walking along there.
We're in the middle of upgrades. The requisition point's in trouble.
So with the suppression here, going to be a little bit too much for the Lord General to deal with. He will retreat away, so the Chimera on the field. All more reason to get Venom Brood out following this Tyrant Guard just to provide some AV damage against that. Try and force it off the field, or at the very least force it to sit far back enough that the Guardsmen won't be able to reinforce as well. Captains are going to get forced off the field, only leaving a single model though, so nothing too major. Our guardsmen are trying to reinforce on the field. We do have the Commissar upgrade for both guardsmen squad alone and 2 break retreats. A second plasma gun upgrade is coming in here as well. Well, that Tyrant Guard is just going to try and consume as many guardsmen here on retreat as humanly possible. But the guardsmen can always break retreat once they go past the Chimera and get inside. So when you do break retreat like this, you are immune to being able to retreat for a short amount of time. Right, another creeping barrage is about to go down here. It's going to catch out this one Termagon squad, which should be forced to retreat away. Our Warriors also getting caught out here as well. Warriors, like they'll be able to just about get away there. 50 HP. I do have the Melts gun here for the Lord General as well to provide some melted damage pretty effectively against the vehicle armor there of the current shield wall formation Tyrant Guard. Otherwise, typically it is just super heavy infantry, which once again Melts is very effective against. Captains are going to try and come in. There is an ID on this VP, so Homguns could be based into going onto it. Homguns are actually going to be annihilated here. Tyrant Guard has exited shield wall formation. The Hive Tyrant has also fallen. 2 squad losses here for Hiveminion. He does push in a bit too aggressively, and Toil does hold his ground. Yeah, the Tyrant Guard could potentially get hunted down here. Tyrant Guard also going to fall in with this. I believe Toil definitely making a comeback in this game despite losing the Sentinel fairly early on. That should be a dead Sentinel.
Sentinel down.
The overall Sentinel loss this late in the game isn't going to matter too much. These double guardsmen and Chimera are a huge problem for Hiveminion to deal with, especially with no AV on the field. Did lose his Hive Tyrant earlier. So has triple Termagon though. And I feel like the Hive Tyrant was better kept in melee. I'm just going for a Venom Brood instead, just so you can also get the ranged snaps upgrade for your triple Termagons in the field. And the Hive Tyrant could have just been potentially a side capping unit, or just something to just get in the face of the guardsman instead. The Toil though is going to cap up the entire top side of the map. Does mean that he'll be in control of the top contested VP, potentially in control of the 2 requisition points on the top, and also the power in the mid side of the map as well. Though Hiveminion is trying to cap up the bottom side where possible, but the Chimera providing so much mobility to these guardsmen. Guardsmen are just going to make their way over. Hive Tyrant though has been repurchased. Not the most effective in melee combat though, with the Venom Cannon equipped, and taking quite a lot of damage here. Does need to be a little bit careful about overextending once again. You see that Warriors were going to attempt to go in for the 4-axe swarm, but unable to actually get close enough to throw that down onto the Chimera, forced into a retreat, and the Ogrins on the field. Ogrins will have a little bit of a difficult time in the sense that there is triple crippling poison available. However, these Ogrins are super heavy infantry, which Termagons are not very effective against. We do see that another Termagon squad was lost somewhere, but I'm not sure where they were lost.
I'll see to it personally.
I think it was, oh, it was this VP here. They actually got hit with the IED. So Rippers will at least be able to tie up one Guardsman squad. Although the Guardsman with the Commissar in the squad actually does quite a lot of damage here, and another creeping barrage here. Going to pull in one of these Termagon squads a little bit closer to Toil. Will force it to potentially retreat away. Our Castrians coming in once again. No Sergeant for these Castrians as of yet, so we do see a Zone Probe. I feel like a Zone Probe might be a bit of a risky choice. Hive Tyrant though is going to be focused down. We do see the Refractor Shield from the Commissar being placed down to reduce the incoming damage there for anyone underneath that shield, but Hive has been forced off the field overall, and I don't know if Hive is going to be able to break this, especially with Ogrins on the field, especially when they have their Bonehead leader. When these 2 Guardsman squads are both level 3 apiece, making them incredibly strong.
I love it when my plans come to get strategic points spotted here.
So Ogren's quite spread out for some reason. All the models are all over the place for now, but we'll see what the Zone Probe can try and do. The Hiveminion did mention that he has not lost the game so far with his Hive Tyrant as of yet, but I feel like this could potentially be the first game that he will lose with the Hive Tyrant for now. that Zoan Probe Shot, doing 6 models there. The issue is that the Chimera is currently parked at the moment. We're going to even see the Chimera turn into a relay beacon if needed, so that Toil can retreat to it. Currently a Shroom cap for a Toil. Does have the VP disadvantage though, 249 to 235, but I believe he will have VP advantage fairly soon there with the Shroom cap against Hiveminion. The Hive trying to kite around as much as possible. We even have a Lord General turret. Going to go down, heavy turret on the center of the map should provide some decent coverage to anything that gets too close to these guardsmen. The Hiveminion not really having the economy to sustain a constant push out of his own base, while Toil, because he is in control of the 2 requisition points on the top, should be able to reinforce his guardsmen fairly effectively. And with that, GG is going to be called. Does mean that the players will be moving into game 3 of the series. Toil winning the second game, ruining the winning streak there of the Hive Tyrant of Hiveminion. And with that, we could potentially see Ravna Alpha get played next, or potentially the Chaos Sorcerer or Mechboy from Hive. Quite a lot of units dying there, about 150 overall. That one push there from Hiveminion turned it into a fairly equal game, or a game slightly in his favour, into a harder game for him to actually win overall. So Toil should have another game or lobby up and ready, from which I just need to spin a new map for these players. And thank you, iFupa, for the sub. Let's have a look. Quest's Heresy. That's going to be our next map choice. Is it with an E? No, it's without E. Oh well. And thank you, Shroom, for the sub as well. The notification for is loud, or are you talking about the spinner? Because I know that the spinner thing is kind of loud as well. I'm going to assume it's a notification. They're both loud and I'm quiet. Maybe I should turn one down. So Toil is first command pick. So let's see what Toil decides to go for. Let's have a look. I can change the settings now so it's less. Sound volume is currently at 50, let's turn it down to 30 I guess. Well, apparently it's 80% if you do bits, let's turn it down to 30. Okay, this sound should now be a bit more consistent. We'll see. Do a sub-only chat to quiet piano down. Could do. So, let's have a look. So, players seem to be fine with the map. Toil is going to go for the APO. APO has been vetoed. So we'll see what Toil decides to go for after that. So Tech Marines are even played. What has Toil got then? He will only have 2 commander choices remaining. So APO veto, Tech Marine has already been played, so it's going to be the Brother Captain or Plague Champion. And it's going to be Plague Champion. Since it is Quest Heresy, Plague Champion is the better choice here. So Hiveminion seems to be regretting the option there of vetoing. It's going to go for the Chaos Sorcerer, will force it into a Chaos Mirror match. Which, we've seen a lot of Space Marine mirror matches, a lot of Chaos Mirror matches. How many games left in today's league? I'm not actually sure how many games we've got left. We've got quite a lot of them. Not sure how many we can get through today. Depends on if the players are available and ready to go. I think, has it did actually give you a reason for your penalty points? Because I'm pretty sure both you and Torp received penalty points for taking 20 minutes to get into that game. But we'll find out about that a little bit later. Toil going to be starting off on the bottom side here, playing as a Plague Champion, while Hiveminion on the top side playing as a Chaos Sorcerer. Going to be a mirror match here between these two Chaos Commanders. So from both players we should see double Heretics as the standard build, although Toil does look like he is going to skip that second Heretic squad in favour of a second CSM squad. With the Chaos Sorcerer you kind of need two Heretic squads on the field just so that you can actually consume and get some energy for your Chaos Sorcerer to cast Doom Bolts multiple times. One as fodder, one for actually fighting in melee combat. So from Toil, if he does go for a double CSM build, we should see the Mucus Discharge upgrade for the Plague Champion. I've seen Toil go for this in this build against other races, not just in Chaos Mirror matches, so I'd likely going to see the same thing here. And given that he's not placed down a power node whatsoever, it should be a second CSM squad on the way. Now for Hiveminion, the map is pretty flat, so it should be fairly easy to land Doom Bolts against your opponent. So we'll see if you can land some juicy Doom Bolts. You can wipe Heretic Squad with a single set of Doom Bolts if you are fortunate enough and if your opponent does not dodge in time. So we'll see if Hiveminion can make the plays. The Doom Bolt's very effective against Heretics due to them clumping up together, very effective against CSM due to the plasma type damage being effective against heavy infantry. But straight away an engagement in the mid side as these two Heretics are going to run in. The Chaos Sorcerer is going to follow in from the behind. Doom Bolts will come in, although one squad is still forced away due to the amount of damage that they took in range before getting into combat. Overall, Hiveminion is going to lose this fight, but at the very least will keep Toil occupied while he does have his Heretics on the other side. So he may end up losing the Heretic squad here. Chaos Sorcerer needs a special. Special comes in a bit too late. Oh, that's low. Damage over time. There's a dead Heretic squad, unfortunately, here for Hive. So Chaos Sorcerer is going to continue to buy some time while there are some Heretics trying to cap on the backside as well. Well, in fact, sorry, CSM on the backside rather, not Heretics. So straight away Noise Marines here for Hiveminion. Noise Marines are an interesting choice. Noise Marines can silence ranged opponents. It does take 2 seconds for that ranged silence to actually take effect. With the ranged silence you cannot shoot back, you cannot cast any abilities. So in theory it sounds like it should be a good purchase, however Noise Marines do require that the opponent try and have their units clumped up together so that you can actually get suppression affecting multiple squads at once. Noise Marines are quite expensive to reinforce and quite expensive as a squad overall. So we'll see. If Hiveminion is able to get the Sparring Champion on his Heretics, able to get the Sword of Flame for the Chaos Sorcerer as well as the Vestments of the Warp, could be in a decent position, I feel. But Toil is going to go for some Raptors here, so maybe another Sparring Champion Heretic squad to try and deal with the Raptors defensively. But some nice Doom Bolts here onto the CSM, brings them down to half HP. Those Marines are going to make their way towards the mid side, but Toil is just going to fall back until these Raptors enter the field. We do have Heretics on the right hand side, not a part of the fight at the moment, so we'll need to rely on these Raptors to try and get some melee dominance. But these Heretics, so without their Aspiring Champion, I'm not sure if this is the best fight here for Hiveminion currently. Heretics are very low once again. Raptors are going to try and focus them down. That's another Heretic squad loss there for Hiveminion. 400 requisition loss, equivalent of losing a CSM squad. Coffee is going to go down here, which will catch out 2 squads. CSM can now switch and fire at range here. Chaos Sorcerer can try and pass Doom Boss as soon as he has enough energy to do so. Currently on 47, 60 is required. Meanwhile, we do have the Mucus Discharge for the Plague Champion, so if none of these CSM models die, the Plague Champion will be able to heal them back up by a decent chunk. Now Raptors still trying to fight here, may end up losing a model. Chaos Sorcerer will become level 2 now, but the map is looking incredibly blue as Toil has been able to keep this Heretic squad capping for the duration of the entire fight, allowing him to secure a lot of map control very quickly. So Heretics are on the way here for Hiveminion, but I feel like the 2 Heretic losses earlier is going to make it very difficult for him to make a comeback in this game. So So Sorcerer will be able to cap up that center VP, but play champion there with Mucus Discharge and these two CSM and Raptors making their way towards the center should be enough to force Hiveminion off. So still no Aspiring Champion yet, but it is currently on the way here. With the Aspiring Champion, although Toil is going to get an Aspiring Champion for himself. Although, does actually wipe these heretics straight away and tosses it inside or on top of this little platform. So that's going to be the Aspiring Champion upgrade here for Toil cancelled. Chaos Sorcerer here, going to have an easier time against these Raptors without having to worry about these Heretics. These Aspiring Champion Heretics have taken quite a lot of damage so far. Cacophony will go down, but it's only catching out a single CSM model. But it is catching out these Raptors. These Raptors are getting a little bit low. Those rings might be able to force melee here, although the Mucus Discharge at the last second is going to save the remaining model. Surprisingly, Hiveminion though did not have a CSM in the fight. The CSM have actually been capping up while this fight has been ongoing. Chaos Sorcerer also has enough energy for another Doom Bolt ability once again. But just needs to be careful about overextending his stay here. So overall, that was a really good fight here for Hiveminion, but I'm not sure if it's going to be enough for him in this game. Definitely needs more fights like that. Needs to wipe more units. Or lose the generator in the process, and we'll still lose a bit more map control, but overall, wiping the Heretics before the Aspiring Champion came out means that there's no worship available for Toil. And Raptors had to reinforce 2 models as well, so that cost is going to add up. So Hiveminion is going to be the first person to tier 2. If you can get out an early blood pressure, can definitely exert a lot of pressure against Toil. Now the CSM should be able to heal up once again due to the Mucus Discharge. You can see him grouped up right next to the play champion with the anticipation of that. And those Marines about to get jumped upon. Chaos Sorcerer will land some really nasty Doom Bolts here. That's a massive amount of damage here, and Toil has got his play champion pushing in further forward. Chaos Sorcerer will be able to pick off at least one CSM model here. Overall, the fight is one for Toil, but still a lot of damage has been dealt to the CSM with the Mucus Discharge. It's not going to be enough to heal up the squads up to full HP. In fact, I don't think I've seen Mucus Discharge get used this fight at all, unless it was used on the Raptors earlier to allow them to win against those Aspiring Champion Heretics. So Toil, he does have the better economy due to having a lot more of the map under his control, especially if he's going to be bashing the generator farm of Hiveminion constantly. So do you see that Hiveminion is grouped up and making his way back out of base though. This Chaos Sorcerer level 3, play champion level 2 at the moment. Those Marines and CSM, they may make the mistake of trying to go in a bit too aggressively, trying to bash power though. Just need to try and cap up the center of the map. They can try and bash this power node here, but they should not try and push all the way into Toil's natural generator farm though, because that would be a bit too risky and they will be forced off immediately without gaining too much.
Do not lose us that power. We have the advantage for now.
So Raptors going to try and engage here. There is no Aspiring Champion for these Raptors as of yet, but as soon as Toil finishes tier 2, the Raptor upgrade is going to start being purchased, or start being made. So Doom Bolts is going to go down here. These Heretics taking a lot of damage in range combat here from these double upgraded CSM. Or just not even upgraded CSM, just these double CSM. Making it very difficult for them to actually do too much in melee combat. The Hiveminion will be the first one with a Blood Crusher out on the field. You can keep that Blood Crusher alive for a decent amount of time. Should be able to exert a decent amount of pressure over Toil, but Toil is probably going to get a Blood Crusher of his own out on the field. So you should see a Blood Crusher versus Blood Crusher fight, but Hiveminion does have Heretics on the field to provide worship support to the Blood Crusher. How the play champion can provide repair support as a commander instead. So here is the Blood Crusher going to try and hunt down some of these CSM models. Toil may decide to just go Plague Marines instead, although given the amount of resources saved up, it could just be a Dreadnought. Could even be a Mark Corn Dreadnought as well. But I feel like Hiveminion should have enough time to save up for a Havoc squad if it is a Dreadnought in this particular case, which it is. The Blood Crusher should allow him to cap up the center of the map here. It's going to be a Chains of Torment for the Chaos Sorcerer. I'm not too sure about that purchase. Also have the Summoning Circle game placed down, but at the same time we have Touch of Nurgle here for these Raptors. These Heretics, I feel like need to back away from the fight here. It's a bit risky for them to try and remain in here. Raptors trying to go towards these noise marines instead to try and prevent any further bashing occurring. But that Blood Crusher though is pretty immobile. So, Touch Nurgle has now ended. Blood Crusher is going to charge in here. You also see that the Chains of Torment is going to go down, however that will not prevent you from being able to retreat away. But is focused down very quickly here by Toil. So, Blood Crusher going to get attacked there. The Auto Cannon doesn't do too much damage to the Blood Crusher, is able to easily evade it, although Dreadnought is going to be able to fire on the move. Blood Crusher will fall back to some Heretics here on the top right hand corner. Try and receive some worship support, although it does make its way towards the center instead. So Havocs have been purchased, Plague Marines are purchased as well for Toil to try and deal with the vehicles on either side. Once the Plague Marines are on the field, we should see some upgrades for these chosen, for these Chaos Space Marines. Should see the Mark of Zinch upgrade for them. Should also see this Baron Champion as well, which equips it with a plasma gun, allowing it to burst down enemy heavy infantry very quickly, so be very effective against these noise marines. They won't have the opportunity to actually get in range to use their Sonic Blaster against you, and also very effective against the opposing CSM on the team. So last cannon purchase already for these Havocs here. Dreadnought is forced to cancel any sort of power bash that it was currently planning, and is forced to go back to the center of the map. There are no Heretics to provide any repair support, so all the repairs will need to be done by the Plague Champion, so he will need to remain fairly close to the Dreadnought where possible, otherwise the Dreadnought will be in risk of going down. So currently Blood Crusher is a little bit low at the moment, does have a small amount of health regeneration, but ideally you need to rely upon your worship to bring it back up to full HP. So the Chaos Sorcerer, other than going for the Chains of Torment there, I feel like the better option would have been just to go for the Wall of Warfire, because the 2 CSM can focus down the actual chains itself fairly quickly, so it does actually cancel the ability. So I feel like a better weapon would have been a nicer choice here. So this last cannon is currently set up, but not focusing down Dreadnought. You do need to manually target, you can't just attack move. But it is time to focus down that Dreadnought now. We do see that all units are going to switch focus to try and melee down this Havoc squad, but a huge cacophony will knock down the majority of Toil's army. But the Blood Crusher is in risk of going down, will end up going down. The Chaos Sorcerer can try and warp it out, but the Chaos Sorcerer is currently in the base at the moment, so it should be able to be warped out potentially. But instead the Blood Crusher is actually going to fall down, does not get warped out in time. Havocs will try and fire at this Dreadnought. If the Havocs can't kill this Dreadnought, it would be good, but there is a Noxious Cloud on top of these Havocs for now, so they are forced to retreat away. You know, Noise Marine's going to try and do what they can, but their Sonic Blaster not the most effective against a vehicle. And currently a triple cap against Hiveminion, 416 VPs to 149. Things are currently not going his way in this current game. Plague Champion is just going to get some repairs on this Dreadnought. Meanwhile, Forest Toil does reinforce back in base. We do have the upgrades coming in here. It's going to be one Mark of Khorne, one Mark of Zinch Power Axes, and Inferno Bolters equipped. Going to make it very difficult there for Hive to actually deal with that infantry. So we do see Bloodletters on the way. Bloodletters is very reliant on worship to actually be very effective, and I feel like they won't have the opportunity to do too much. Nice little combination here, as the Raptors had no range support whatsoever. They weren't able to actually kill the Chains of Torment quick enough, so are forced off the field. However, this Dreadnought is going to be a massive problem, especially once it does receive full repairs. Plague Champion, no further upgrades other than Mucus Discharge as of yet. CSM though back into the fight here on the mid-side. We do see the Slaughter ability is activated, but that's not going to really compare too well against these Mark of Khorne CSM, and with the Inferno and Plasma damage here. See the Noise Marine already losing their model, could potentially lose second one. These Mark of Khorne CSM just so scary in melee combat. And also getting healed up by the Mucus Discharge there of the Plague Champion. So many healing opportunities available, although currently lacking some due to the lack of Heretics on the field. So Bloodletters are going to come in and immediately leave the fight there. They do have their phase shift activated, meaning they are immune to all sorts of damage. However, this only lasts a certain amount of time before you do need to fall back. The map is still looking very blue, very favoured towards Toil at the moment, with the VPs also very heavily favoured with over 300 VPs difference. Bloodletters are going to try and engage these Mark of Khorne CSM, but I don't feel like this is a fight that they should take. Bloodletters can get specials, they will win the engagement, but Mark of Khorne CSM seems to be bugged out currently. just trying to rapid fire their plasma pistol at point blank range. We did see that earlier against generators, so I don't know if that's just something that's been changed about them, so I don't know if they're just bugged it in general. We need to report that to Atlas, but these Havocs are going to go down. Those Marines are also going to fall down as these Raptors do get onto the back line here. And with that, GG has been called by Hiveminion, which means that Toil is going to be our victor in this series. Yeah, Toil having more favourable trades overall, but that was still a really nice Doombolt clip there by Hiveminion regardless. So, do we have some more league games? That is the next question. So we've had Best Noob and Hiveminion and Toil. Has Hiveminion got anyone else to play this evening? Toil and Best Noob haven't really played against each other, I believe. Try to find out where currently scheduled to play each other. The Best Noob and Toil already played against each other, so we can't do that. Does anyone actually have any league games ready to go? I'll try a game called League and see. I don't know if Dylan wants to play some games. So Piano may end up playing against Hiveminion. Do you want to play Piano now? As Hiveminion has played a few series, he may end up taking a break. Okay, Hiveminion is currently off, so we cannot have Hiveminion versus Piano as of the moment. What about Ye? Who's Ye got left to play? Looks like Ye has played against most people. Ye versus Shroom, Ye versus Ghost, although Ghost I believe is potentially off. I said Dilla. Ye's already played against Piano, so never mind. And Dilla has not responded to me because he's too busy playing Rainbow Six. I reckon Hiveminion can take a game off. But if you guys can potentially play then just before the monthly Rumble tournament, I can always cast it then. Or at some point anyway. I don't really want to do it after the monthly Rumble tournament. I don't think most people want to do it after the monthly Rumble tournament because it'll be late for everyone. So Shroom can play some games. Shroom, who have you got as your opponents? Potentially Ye. I think, who have you played against actually? You've only played against me and someone else. Where's Shroom? So, is Redbeard still around? Redbeard versus Shroom? Or Shroom versus Shoulder Mount, or Shroom versus Ye. Shroom versus Dilla if Dilla responds. Or Shroom versus Piano. Oh, I keep like making the lisp sound. Redbeard's currently in bed. Well, it sounds like a good reason to get out of bed. versus Floyd, but Floyd I don't believe is online. I don't know if Ben's online either. Let's have a look. Currently no Benny Boy, currently no Floyd. So we could have Shroom and Piano. Do a push up to get out of bed. Shroom versus Crid. I don't know if the Crid is around currently either. Crid is currently offline. I'm sure it's easy to like select this. Currently Dark Hero, LocalgHost, and Toil. What about Toil? Toil still online. Okay, Shroom, do you want to play against Toilailee? Let me not ask Toil if he wants to play against himself. So we'll see hopefully Toil is nearby though for a potential game. Meanwhile, I don't think there's that many players online for a league at the moment. Well, Shoulder Mount is currently online if you also want to play against Shroom. Assuming that Toil does not respond. So we'll see. Either way, we've got ourselves a standoff once Shroom gets back from his cigarette. We can see if he wants to play against Toil or if he wants to play against Shoulder. Overall, I think he should probably do both. I don't know if we can count how many games have been done, but I don't have the patience to try and count through 153 games to see if they have been completed or not. So Toil doesn't want to obs another 3 games, so in that case it looks like Toil versus Shroom. Has Toil played against Shoulder though? That's the other one. Yes, Toil went 2-1 against Shoulder Mount. So Shoulder, if you wait, you can play afterwards, since I did ask Toil first. Okay, let's get Shoulder Mount moved into the ob slot. Once 12 versus Shroom is done, you versus Shroom. Blob all your units, that way they won't die because you're not looking. I mean, it's one way of doing things. Piano and Best New Radio. Wait, who did Shoulder pair up with previously in Monthly Rumble Team Tournament then? And also, what's up with the sudden influx of haha yes and haha no? Have I missed something that's like started? Because I keep seeing loads of people use it, and I have no idea where it originates from. I'm really confused by what you're on about now, Piano. Anyway, Shroom is here. So let's get a map rolled for these players. Refresh the page, so there it resets it back to default. And the map is going to be Seraph. Wait, what was it? Seraph Palace. And I'm the host, so I should probably pick the map. So Shroom is happy with the map. Let's see if Toil is happy with the map. Is Toil even here? Yes, Toil is here. So, who is meant to be first pick? Let's have a quick look at the list. Toil. I can't remember what game I said it was now. Oh, here we go. Toil versus Shroom, game number 150. Toil is going to be first pick. So he's going to go for the brother captain. Let's see if that gets vetoed by Shroom. It does not. It's going to be the Chaos Lord against him. And we're going to get into this game pretty quickly. Or pretty quick.
I am here to lead. Do not trifle with me.
Power overhead.
Chaos Space Marines, eternally eager for war.
It is ours now. Requisition point spotted. Node captured.
Your forces obey you.
I will see you dead, brother. No blowman, come on, Anderson!
Your units fulfill your command.
Too weak to come near. Victory point captured.
Your units fulfill your command.
Why does anything think I can be killed?
Triumph today.
Offer them no easy targets, no mercy.
One of our generators is under attack.
So Strike Squad's going to be bashing power at the moment. Just realised I had my microphone muted as well, so I've just been speaking to myself. So Shroom is going to respond with some Raptors. Raptors will be able to get on top of this Strike Squad. Both of them are going to be going for the cyber ammunition upgrade, so there won't be any
Do not lose us.
melee counter as such to the Raptors, although Strike Squads can still do okay in melee combats despite having the cyber ammunition upgrade.
Your forces obey you.
So we're going to have the Chaos Lord and the CSM make their way towards the center here. But the Strike Squad is going to make itself over with the Brother Captain, but no Blessed Aegis as of yet. In fact, no Power Node as of yet, so it's going to be a triple Strike Squad build here for Toil. I've seen them go for a triple Strike Squad before. For triple Strike Squad, it's going to be 120 energy there with the Blessed Aegis, assuming that Toil does go for the Blessed Aegis, though. So Raptors are just going to be heavy on pursuit, so Toil only needing an additional 30 Requisition. Strike Squad is actually going to lose a model there. Fairly low HP, just like Shroom lost his CSM model earlier. But it shouldn't be too much of a pain for Toil to reinforce. He's going to go for Operatives here. Don't know if the Operatives are in response to there being a Strike Squad to Raptors out in field. I'll say thank you for the follow, but I do not know how to read Korean, so I will not attempt to try and pronounce that name. But Operatives, though, they can equip the fallback plan, does allow them to drop a flashbang on retreats, which allows you to stun a unit for 3 seconds, so will be used to try and counter initiate these Raptors, and from there you can actually break the retreats with the fallback plan. The Chaos Lord is going to try and pursue a bit further. We should see a combi flamer here for the Chaos Lord, should allow him to pick off Strike Squad models a bit more effectively. But so far we've not seen that from Shroom. CSM Squad is going to try and fire from distance here. You know what? Chaos Lord is going to get a special here, probably when he doesn't want a special. You know, Operatives are here, but Operatives are not currently close enough to the Strike Squad to actually make use of this fallback plan. CSM will try and force melee against them. No fallback plan as of yet, so they won't be able to break retreat if they do lead the fight. So Shroom is going to end up with a sound bug, so it looks like we're going to have to restart the game. So with that, if both players agree, then it is going to be a redone match. So as soon as players do drop the game, I'll get another game hosted. So there goes Shroom. Toil should also lead the game as well. Shouldn't concede really. And there's everyone leaving. So, not too much to report there. Let me not host a private lobby. Okay, Toil's already got a game up. But I do need a slot. At Matspa, it's not from any anime. It's just from like, what was it? It's just Earth-chan. What was the character name? It was just like a Twitter comic originally, saying, well, someone was like, what if they made an anime about planets? I can always PM you later. But starting off on the top side of the map, we're going to have Shroom once again as a Chaos Lord, going to be making his way towards the centre of the map, stomping around all this terrain. Toilailee going to be doing the same thing with the Brother Captain, but making his way up from the bottom side of the map instead. So from these players, we should expect to see the same build, although players may decide to change it up a little bit. From Shroom, we're going to see those fast Raptors onto the field. From Toil, we should see the either 2 or 3 Strike Squad build once again. If he'll go for a triple Strike Squad. I'm surprised he didn't go for triple in the previous game. Decided to go for Operatives instead. But anyway, Chaos Lord though is going to get focused down here. We'll try and interrupt the IST. Unlikely to be able to pick off a model there. IST just going to continue to run away with the We Are the Hammer. ability gain activated here does give this IST a high amount of mobility. The Chaos Lord not really going to be able to do too much. They were trying to focus melee there on retreat, but overall he's a bit too tanky to actually do too much against. So second strike squad is on the way. Meanwhile, for Shroom, he does place down a power node, probably will place down a generator as well, try and get a Raptor squad as quickly as possible. Meanwhile, the Cyber ammunition upgrade is coming in for the very first strike squad to give them that increased range damage, while the Rev Captain is just going to camp up behind them. Meanwhile, second strike squad, actually no, he cancels the upgrade here. Oh no, he doesn't cancel the upgrade, forget that it doesn't show up like a normal upgrade, you can just see the plus icon above it instead. Meanwhile, CSM on the right hand side will be able to actually kill off that IST model that the Chaos Lord failed to do so earlier. Still no generator has been placed down here for Shroom, but we'll be able to get that Raptor squad out into the field fairly quickly. So once the Raptors are out in the field, I feel that the Chaos Lord should be aiming to get a Combi Flamer on the field. The Combi Flamer does give you enough range damage to try and pick off some models, even if it is heavy infantry. Quite a lot of damage being dealt to this power node. So the Chaos Lord is on his way back into the centre, but needs to wait for these Raptors to actually be able to do anything against the strike squad. CSM, where are CSM currently at? CSM currently in base at the moment, are making their way back in. Alongside with these Raptors, should be able to win some engagements, while Heretics just cap up their left side. IST will cap up the right side, so we should see a clash between the two armies in the mid side. Squad generator has been placed down for Shroom. The Chaos Lord does need to be a little careful here. He's going to go in, while Raptors will flop the initiation there, going for that other strike squad. Rev Captain is going to come in, should be able to activate with the hammer, but instead we'll just retreat that strike squad away. Won't remain in the fight for too long. Rev Captain, while he does have power melee by default, same with the Chaos Lord, there's not really a high amount of it in the early stages of the game, probably the equivalent of a single Banshee or something. So generally not really going to be able to kill many models by himself. You know, Raptors going to go in here. Toil does have quite a lot of resources stocked up at the moment, but does have a generator placed down, so unlikely to see a triple strike squad build from him. Is likely to be going for some operatives like we did see in the initial game earlier. All the more reason to get out that Combi Flamer for when moments like this, when units are just going to make use of buildings on the top side of the map. With a Combi Flamer, you can use the Immolate ability to force units to vacate the building by damaging them severely, or you can just outright kill them if your opponent does not respond at all. So Strike Squad does make its way back towards the mid side, same with the other one as well. CSM going to very quickly get overwhelmed. They can go behind some green cover and try and pick off some models and just try and sit defensively, but overall they are just going to be forced off in the end. And we do have some operatives. Once again, operatives currently not equipped with any upgrades and no upgrades in the pipeline for now, but we should see a fallback plan come in for them a bit later. Can also throw down incendiary bombs as well, very effective against heretics, and infantry in general can be used to try and deny specific areas, because most players don't want to walk in a particular area if it's going to cause them damage to their units. Meanwhile, 2 strike squads here. This 1 strike squad though down to 480 HP, does need to be a little bit careful. Raptors can easily pick off a model from it. We do see Raptors making their way down to the center of the map here. The Chaos Lord, still no upgrades for him as of yet. Still would like to see that Combi Flamer get purchased. Very effective against these IST as well, as you can easily pick off models from them. In tier 2 we should see the Drain Life ability as well for the Rev Captain, but here is the Blessed Aegis on the way. And with strike squads being able to give energy to units, this Rev Captain is going to become incredibly tanky. The Blessed Aegis allows you to use your energy as a shield every 4 damage. So shield adds an equivalent of 400 HP. Strike squads can also give you 40 energy back, so it's equivalent of having 160 heal to the Rev Captain, so you can do that twice to him as well.
That's a good position.
So Rev Captain should probably turn off his shield at this point, so you can just start regenerating some of that energy back, but it's going to leave it on for now. You can always get some of that energy from those nearby strike squads, but all the more reason still for this Chaos Lord to keep pushing for him to go get that Combi Flamer. But Shroom is going to be the first person going towards the next tier. No Inspiring Champion for his Heretics either. It's just going to rely on Raptors as only power purchase in the early stages of the game. Here we'll have the Chaos Lord tie up in 1 strike squad while Raptors tie up the other. And these Raptors are doing pretty well here. Going to try and go after these operatives as well, but deciding to ignore them instead. Going for the strike squad now. Chaos Lord can come in to kill the weak to knock over the strike squads, but Raptors actually are the ones to lose a model, whereas Strike Squad actually do end up losing the model at the very end. So the Rubber Captain here was largely ignored in this fight. He did go after the Heretics, but overall is just going to back away now. So with a fast Blood Crusher onto the field, we'll see if Toil is going to be able to respond appropriately. Toil is currently not tier 2 as of yet, but should have the resources fairly soon, just lacking an additional 10 power before he can upgrade. So Chaos Lord is still trying to hunt down these operatives, but operatives are still infiltrated for now. There is IC on this left hand side, so they can try and kite the Chaos Lord around, but these two squads don't deal a ton of damage, so Chaos Lord might be able to tank this a little bit, but instead he will be forced off. So Raptors equipping themselves with an Aspiring Champion, currently on retreat back to base. Once they do get another model, we should see them come back out, and with the CSM squad we should see them upgrade with the Mark of Siege upgrade at some point. Going to go for an Aspiring Champion as their first purchase. Should also see the Eternal War as well at some point. So Worship Lioness Blood Crusher to move a little bit quicker, as it does try and hunt down enemy strike squads, while Raptors still are making their way out of space. Heretics and CSM capping up the center. The map control is belonging to Toil at the moment, but we should see that change a little bit. At the very least, Shroom should be able to cap up the center and either the left or right hand side. The Strike Squad is going to start whistling down this Heretic squad without his Aspiring Champion. The Heretic just falls down so quickly. But still no upgrades on the Chaos Lord as of yet. Brain Life ability can be very useful to lock down the Brother Captain in place here. I don't think Shroom will have enough damage. He could try and jump his Raptors in to finish off that Brother Captain, but at 300 HP it's going to be unlikely that he'll be able to do that in a single hit. So he's going to work his way towards the generator farm instead. Heretics on the right hand side, just going to be able to cap up. They will be fairly safe, but we do have counter bash going on from Toil with these IST and operatives. CSM do make their way back instead. This is going to be a Rhino coming out for a Toil. We'll rely on that as the source of AV. The Rhino can be equipped with a last cannon. Tracking has been changed in the most recent patch, so it should be a bit more effective at trying to hunt down enemy vehicles, whereas previously it did have a tendency to focus down any infantry or anything else other than the intended target. So there is the Drain Life armor there, allowing the Brother Captain to be locked into place for a small amount of time. Raptors and Blood Crusher dealing a significant amount of damage here. Raptors could try and follow up, but might be considered a bit too aggressive as he's already outside the base of Toil. So Shroom having a bit of a better game this time round. The VP's been a bit more equal, 440 to 430. Does get 2 generators, so it can back away after bashing that as well. So with the Rhino being spotted, should try and back out to Blood Crusher. We do see it just charging out there instead. The power node should also go down at the same time. CSM did defend the power. Looks like only 1 generator went down in the end. But there you go, you can hear the last cannon as it's going to attempt to hunt down this Blood Crusher. No Heretics nearby, but the Rhino decides not to pursue too far. Plague Marines are on the way as a counter to that Rhino. Shroom is just going to back away there, is able to secure himself a full power bash. Heretics also retreating away as they are quite low. They need to get back to base to try and provide some worship support to the Blood Crusher.
You are losing us a victory point.
So, map control. Still looking fairly red. Toil does have these power nodes noded, which definitely makes it a bit more of a pain to actually try and capture for yourself, since you do need to tear it down, but the Blood Crusher or these Heretics should be sufficient to do so. So CSM, no further upgrades for them as of yet other than the Eternal War and the Aspiring Champion. Given that Mark of Horde seems to be a little bit bugged at the moment, we should see the Mark of Siege upgrade get purchased here. So CSM forced to back away now. So in the mid-side with Plague Marines should be fairly efficient at trying to chase down this Rhino. Only has 500 HP to begin with, so it only takes a few hits before the Rhino will end up dying. So there is an IC squad on the field to try and provide some repair support. Meanwhile, we do have Purifiers on the way. As for why Mark of Corner is currently bugged, I have no idea as to why, but for some reason when they seem to enter in melee combat, they seem to just fire their plasma pistol in rapid fire mode, doing no damage to your opponent. Raptors though doing a good job trying to tie up the Strike Squad. Rob Capson ends up retreating away, did have enough energy so he could have remained on the fight for a little bit longer. Strike Squad about to lead another model here. Raptors might be able to try and chase in, try and path block the Rhino line of Plague Marines to get a shot needed. Oh, that's some interesting pathing choice here. Rear armor hits. Where Purifiers coming out, their power melee should absolutely demolish these Raptors. Raptors are keen to try and finish it off. They should try and jump. Or the Inspiring Champion is the one to go down here, and just because draining the energy of these Raptors. That is a dead Raptor squad. At the same time though, Rhino has also been taken out, the Blood Crusher, to be freed from any source of AV. Meanwhile, Chaos Lord is just going to try and chase around. We'll actually use the Drain Life ability here onto these Inquisitorial Stormtroopers. Does allow Chaos Lord to heal up a little bit. While Blood Crusher is just going to continue to pursue it a bit further. Blood Train is... Some of these shadows are a bit weird on this map. For some reason it won't show the shadows unless you can actually see the building. But that is going to be a dead power node. Another Rhino is on the way though. And we'll see if Shroom decides to replace these Raptors with some Bloodletters instead. We do have the Mark of Siege upgrade here into the CSM squad, absolutely demolishing the Strike Squads here. Our Blood Crusher comes in to provide some support. That should be another dead model here. Just because for both Strike Squads, although that Strike Squad actually still has its Justicar alive, it was just 2 regular models that were lost and traded no CSM models for it. But another Rhino out into the field, another last cannon upgrade. Definitely is going to be a bit of a pain for this Blood Crusher to deal with, especially with crack grenades available, as these operatives do have a sergeant leading them now. Meanwhile, Plague Marines are going to sit behind some green cover. Not really much that they will do against the Strike Squad. Strike Squad can try and force melee against them, or Purifiers can come in to clean up instead. No Justicar though for this Purifier squad, as they are trying to focus on getting the Rhino out a little bit quicker. And that range of the Rhino is going to make it a pain. We do see the liners getting used here by the Chaos Lord to prevent any further chase against that Blood Crusher. You can always try and move where the Blood Crusher is, but you have to go into point blank range, at which point the Blood Crusher can try and melee down the Rhino instead. But Purifiers desperately trying to chase as much as possible, but these Mark of Siege CSM will try and put an end to any further chasing. Plague Marines will try and get a shot against that Rhino. They actually do 2 more shots, all that's required. Thank you, Zunik RC, for the follow. That Rhino though, 239 HP, IST are still on the field, so repairs are available for this. As it continues to just drive around and be overall very annoying. Heretics though, we should see some repair support come in, or some worship support. May end up being worth going another Heretic squad out. Shroom has a lot of resources stocked up at the moment. 600 requisition, 200 power. Could try and go tier 3 at this point. These CSM trying to do what they can here. Toil is just going to sit very defensively. Has to keep fairly grouped up, otherwise Shroom will just take control of a particular area. Meanwhile, these operatives are just being a bit of a pain, just trying to go around the map and trying to cap up where possible, but the Blood Crusher is making its way towards the Heretic squad, trying to receive some repairs. These operatives do spot the Blood Crusher here, so may try and go in for a crack grenade, although the Rhino is currently on the left-hand side, engaged with some Plague Marines. IST though, currently sitting with that Razorback, or with that Rhino rather, going to try and provide some support for it as much as possible. Blood Crusher largely ignoring the crack grenade, not expecting anything to follow it up. At this current health though, Purifiers could potentially fight it if it does get hit with another crack grenade to stop it from being able to move too far away. So tier 3 going to be completing for Shroom fairly soon. We should expect to see a Predator out in the field. Predator should be upgraded with the Mark Corn upgrade to make it more effective against infantry. It will also still be very effective against vehicles as well. Could even see a Nurgle variant, but I don't think that would be very effective against the heavy infantry on the field. There is the worship here for the Blood Crusher, allowing it to heal 10 health regeneration per second. But yeah, Predator currently on the way though, and still no Justicar here for this Purifier. probably see one at some point. These markers each CSM, they're currently level 2. Every time they level up, they do get some increased range damage, so definitely going to be scary the more models they do pick off. But look at the amount of damage though dealt to the strike squad. They do get a generator. But their focus a little bit sparse at the moment. Currently focusing down so many models at the same time. They're heavily weakening the squad, but not actually securing any model kills despite having a plasma gun on that aspiring champion. Crack Blade does go down onto the Blood Crusher. The Rhino is coming in for a flank. And that Blood Crusher may end up going down in this fight. There is no Heretics here to provide worship support, but there is a Rhino that pops out just in time. If he can keep the Blood Crusher alive, he'll be in a really good position at the moment. May decide to try and hunt this down here. Last Cannon is just not effective against the Predator in comparison to the main Battle Cannon. Oh, 8 HP. Maybe just dice the heavy bolters on the side, but Predator will finish it off though. These Heretics quite low at 120 HP, having to retreat through 2 strike squads. Although it won't be too big an issue though if the Heretics do fall. So it's going to pull GG regardless, not really having much in response to the Predator. Does have operatives, but the operatives are not going to be sufficient, and you saw how well the Predator done against a last Rhino. It's just no comparison. So with this Shroom, it is going to take game number 1 against Toil. So Toil has got another game hosted, so let's roll another map for these players. So Vulcan Pits is going to be the next map, so I don't know. Tactical sound bug too strong. So we'll find out if the players are happy with the map. Are the players happy with the map? Because we see it vetoed on an almost constant basis. Currently no vetoes have been activated as of yet. No one's really saying anything. I'm going to assume that the players are ready to have that as their map. If both players are happy, then Shroom will need to pick his commander first. Also, it's scrolling up in the Twitch chat. What the hell is some of this Twitch chat? Okay, so Toil is fine with the map. Let's see if Shroom is also fine with the map. Do we have any mods? Currently no mods online. At Lamb and Dragon. Wait, Shroom did say 3 minutes. Must have been before I joined the lobby. At Lord Kira, you'll never see who won at this rate. until Piano goes and spoils it. Wait, 3 strikes? There's only 2 strikes. No, Shroom is back. And Shroom is also fine with the map, so Shroom is going to be picking the Chaos Sorcerer in this particular situation. From here we probably will see the Lord General get picked by Toil, in which case that may get vetoed. So, Toil having a good think, I guess, about his commander. And there is that Lord General pick that we've all been expecting, but here is the veto from Shroom. So with this, Toil is going to go for the Apo instead, so we're going to have a Space Marine versus Chaos matchup, and I think the Apo can do pretty well against the Sorcerer. Sanguine Chainsword is definitely a bit of a pain to deal with in Tier 1. So starting off in game 2 of the series between these players, Toil on the top side of the map going to be playing as the Apo with the Grey Knight colour scheme. Apo very annoying with the Chaos Sorcerer to deal with. Sanguine Chainsword in the early stages of the game. The Chaos Sorcerer doesn't really have much single target damage to actually deal with the Apo and his healing with every hit or bolt pistol shot. But we'll see how Shroom is going to do as he is on the other side here, as that Chaos Sorcerer should be able to land some decent Doom Bolts, I guess, against these Tactical Marines. Scouts will be able to easily dodge it though, so there is Toil mentioning that he has got the wrong colour scheme. Shroom saying that we should restart the game. You know, Shroom has got this purple colour scheme instead. So Sorcerer going to be making his way towards the high ground. Tactical Marines and CSM, I believe they can see each other, but just out of range before they can actually fire at each other. Meanwhile, double Heretics here for Shroom, so both players going for a fairly standard build. Tactical Marines with their slightly faster capping speed. It's getting shown. So CSM going to be worshipped here, so with the infiltration, I think it's 20% damage reduction in range with the infiltration. Don't know if that stacks on top of the green cover bonus as well. So for some reason Toil decided to leave cover there, so when you are behind green cover, if you do get hit by Doom Bolts, you take reduced damage anyway. If you do leave that green cover, you will end up taking some additional damage, so generally you want to try and just absorb the damage behind the cover instead, or try and retreat away if you really don't want to take damage and you absolutely cannot afford to do so. But the Apo heal is forced to come out there because of that. Heretics are probably going to need to retreat away, and Heretics may end up going down here. Wait, too many models. Currently alive, 60 HP will be what they get away with. Could try to consume a Heretic on retreat as well, just so that you can try and cast an additional 6 Doom Bolts, where the commanders will tie up their respective tactical squads. But the Apo looks like he's going to be having a best time there, especially as these Tactical Marines are also going to be joining into the melee fights there against those CSM. So luckily for Shroom, he has so far not lost a model as of yet. You know, some Heretics on the right hand side over there actually forced off at the moment. It's usually the double scouts trying to kite them around. Sorcerer does not have enough energy for Doom Bolts, definitely won't have at the time to actually save up enough energy for some more Doom Bolts, so the Tactical Marine should be able to get away there unless it's wow. Actually loses a Tactical Marine model there, very unlucky there for Toil. You know, Raps loses a second Tactical Marine model, that is really unfortunate. So Raptors are on the way here for Shroom, ASM here for Toil. But Toil is not overly happy about that. 2 models going down like that is costly.
The time for battle is now.
But Raptors versus ASM. ASM should be able to win against these Raptors, especially with the APO healing support. How the Chaos Sorcerer coming close to level 2 now, thanks to killing those 2 Tactical Marines. If he does kill some additional models, we'll see him leveled for those levels. We'll see him do some more damage. Not the APO so far, we've not seen with a Sanguine Chainsword. We should see a Sanguine Chainsword come in though, now that the ASM are back out onto the field. They may decide to go for some scout upgrades first instead. No power has been placed down as of yet, just a power node for now. Toyo does have the resources to place down a power node and get an upgrade out at some point.
The sword of victory shall be drawn.
And as I'm talking about it, here is the Sanguine Chainsword on the way. It's going to be very difficult now for Shroom to win the next couple of engagements with a Sanguine Chainsword on the field. Raptors are going to try and counter jump against these ASM, but Raptors only having suppression though rather than knockback. So this is a bit of a dicey looking fight here for Shroom. I'm not too sure about it. We do see the Sword of Flame coming in there to provide Shroom with that additional melee damage. Is potentially going to get an ASM model here. The ASMs will get away with all 3 models intact. Raptors going to get a special against the APO, and that special could be a dead APO. Raptors do have the ability to jump once again. They are going to choose the wrong retreat path though. Oh no. That APO solo 6 HP. Might die to the Sorcerer's Bolt Pistol, but the Bolt Pistol is not firing. And APO is back in base. Makes it home safely.
The enemy is capturing one of our strategic
But
points.
that could have definitely been beneficial to Shroom had he killed the APO there.
Understood.
The Raptors are going to try and go in for a decap. Do need to be careful of tactical Marines with their Kraken rounds activated. Could potentially pick off a Raptor model. Now ASM going to be jumping out of base onto the CSM squad to try and prevent any further chase. So a single generator has been placed down for now. Now these heretics on retreat, where the ASM and tactical Marines are making their way towards the right hand side. We won't see them try and kill these heretics on retreat, and at 300 HP they're probably not going to be able to do that anyway.
Adding power generator.
The Sorcerer makes his way back out of base. No Vestments of the Warp for now. Vestments of the Warp I feel like could be a nice idea, but at the same time you want to keep your Sorcerer fairly defensive since the ASM are going to be jumping into the fight anyway.
Support structure complete.
So we'll see. Some Doombolts though will go down, doing a decent chunk of damage there to those ASM. Sorcerer will just consume those ASM as well. So Heretics are going to try and lead the charge here with Raptors coming into the side. Going to go for that ASM squad, where a nice shotgun blast is going to put an end to these Heretics. These Heretics though do have the coruscating flames on them, so they will be dealing some additional damage to those nearby units. Meanwhile ASM there getting a little bit overwhelmed here. The APO, I don't believe he has his heal available. ASM does lose one model, might lose a second one though. Meanwhile, this fight is going pretty well for Shroom overall. We do see the purification rights have been purchased here as well, so these heretics definitely not wanting to fight the APO at all. I don't know if the Sorcerer, I think the Sorcerer can win. But Toil is currently not happy about the Sorcerer's specials. They do hurt quite a lot. And the fight that we've all been waiting for, those scouts are going to interrupt said fights. Scouts do not lose a model there. The APO heal comes in at the last second, but Shroom does retreat away before the knockback also takes effect. So Shroom is going to be the first person to tier 2. Toil does need an additional 30 power before he can actually tech up to tier 2 himself, and you see that Heretics are making their way back towards the center of the map. Map control so far is belonging to Toil's favor, only by a small amount though. Should try and keep these heretics on the side at some point. We'll try and cap up the Requisition and VP point while trying to fight with the remainder of his units. So no aggressive jump here by these Raptors. Meanwhile ASM and CSM fighting on his left hand side. Sorcerer may decide to make his way over, although these ASM can probably jump over that center building, possibly. Don't know if they've got the range to do so.
The enemy is destroying a key structure.
The APO going to go in there. With purification rights, we should see these tactical marines knock over these raptors there upon healing. Kraken round should also be activated, even if they are in melee combat. Wow, that damage actually. But it does end up losing a tactical marine model, and raptors will get away with 2 models, so that trade going pretty well. The ASMs on the retreat path here. 35 HP, they will be able to get away overall. Bolt pistols not having enough range or damage to actually finish off the squad. So the Sorcerer can try and equal this trade up there by trying to take out a ASM model, or even another Tactical Marine model. Yeah, CSM going to come in, try and poke down that APO from distance, and it's going to be a Blood Crusher again on the field. Of Blood Crusher just provides so much map control in the early stages until your opponent can get some AV out. And here are the Purification Rites once again knocking over the Chaos Sorcerer. Some more Doom Boss going to go down, but not going to be enough to actually pick off an additional model. Meanwhile, we do have some scouts running away here, but the CSM not in position to actually respond, although saying that they do actually pick off a scout model. That scout model must have taken quite a bit of damage in that case. So with the Blood Crusher, Shroom should just be able to walk it up to a particular location and start hitting some generators. Got a location on the left hand side, location on the right hand side. However, it does need to be careful of Tactical Marines equipping a missile launcher or some devastators. As soon as I say that, we even heard the global announcer say that the missile launcher is on the way. We should also see the Melter Bomb upgrade for these ASM. And this Blood Crusher may end up going down very early. These ASM have got plenty of energy to throw down a Melter Bomb there, close enough to the Blood Crusher that they can land it. Blood Crusher is going to be forced to charge out of the area, but Chaos Sorcerer can also warp it to safety as well. Although Chaos Sorcerer is not that far away from the action, but is making his way a bit further away. Summoning Circle is cooled down now. Shroom does not have enough red to actually warp out the Blood Crusher. It is forced to commit to a fight here instead. So Melter Bomb has already been thrown onto the Blood Crusher here, and that Melter Bomb is about to run out as well. So overall, Shroom is going to lose this fight here. Should be able to get the Blood Crusher out fairly safely though, as more and more Bloodlesses are spawned. You know that Sorcerer, 200 HP, should be okay. While saying the Chainsword is annoying, it doesn't actually do that much damage. Now that Blood Crusher though, trying to engage some Heretics here. These Heretics should be able to worship, but they're actually going to try and target these Tactical Marines instead. Meanwhile, CSM even trying to join the fray here by trying to melee down some units. You do see the heal go down. The heal is not close enough to these Heretics, and 2 ASM models actually falling down in this engagement here, so overall Shroom, things are going pretty well for him, I believe, and he does gain control of the entire center of the map here. Raptors on the left hand side capturing, while the Heretics capture this requisition point in the center. Actually means CSM, not Heretics, because Heretics are currently bashing power. So for Toil, it looks like he's going to aim to get a Dreadnought out. Looking at the amount of money saved up, 110 power, just needs an additional 10 before he can get his own Dreadnought out. Shroom should respond with some Havocs to provide some hard-hitting AV in the form of a Last Cannon. And actually saves the generator. Scouts end up repairing it with a Shotgun Blast. So yeah, that will remain alive for a little bit longer. Don't think it'll stay to repair it all the way though. We'll send the Scouts back out to try and cap up points where possible, just to deny him back now. So Raptors jumping out one at a time will be able to get away with 3 out of 4 models alive. They were on 2 out of 3 models earlier from a previous fight, so they didn't actually lose anything to those ASM in that particular engagement. So they'll just continue to leave the area. Meanwhile, Blood Crusher just being very annoying. The CSM now having the Aspiring Champion, having the Mark of each upgrade, equipped with a Plasma Gun, should be very effective against any sort of infantry on the field of Toil. Still has this Missile Launcher and these Tactical Marines as a counter to the Blood Crusher. Doesn't have a Plasma Gun as of yet, but it does have a Dreadnought, and this Dreadnought is going to be incredibly scary to go up against. So we shall see what it does. With the Dreadnought, it can largely be ignored. Shroom's actually going to go tier 3. I don't know if he'll cancel this upon seeing the Dreadnought on the field. The VPs are fairly even, so he can afford to lose some VPs and some map control until we can get Predator out of the field. As long as he keeps his Generator farm alive, he should be able to afford the 125 red for a Predator. So Raptors is going to be engaged upon by these ASM. These Raptors will probably need to back away here. Surprisingly, not losing the model there against those ASM. That power sword definitely hurts quite a lot from the Sergeant, but overall will remain alive. Meanwhile, this Dreadnought is just kind of walking around. Because it's a melee Dreadnought, it can be kited around. So Shroom does cancel tier 3 in favor of getting a Dreadnought of his own now. I'm not too sure about his own Dreadnought. Kind of like the idea of him just going tier 3 and just trying to get a Predator out instead, but I think he anticipates not being able to hold his own Generator farm though. So he decides against it. So Havocs are on the way for a Toil, potentially anticipating a Predator or a enemy Dreadnought. In this case, that should be a dead Heretic squad. That is a very dead Heretic squad.
Scouts ready.
So Shroom going for a Dreadnought, he may decide to go for a Mark of Khorne upgrade, but
Task unfinished is a prayer unanswered.
I don't think he will. Probably going to go for a Mark of Tzeentch Dreadnought. Highly unlikely to keep it as default configuration since it's the worst of both worlds in this particular case. Against a melee walker, it will lose.
Understood.
But for now, you just keep it in its default configuration, may rely upon it for as infantry. While he does get Havocs out instead as his source of AD, so Devastator's live side, so both players kind of going for a mirrored build on either side, their respective races. You know, Merciless Strike there onto these Heretics. The Apo decides to, can also use the heal against these Heretics just to do some additional damage, and we do see that knockback coming into effect. You know, I do see Devastators are set up here, but not quite having the angle needed, as there is a shot blocker in the way, so Blood Crusher and the enemy Dreadnought going to try and chase down the Dreadnought of the Space Marine army here. So a decent amount of heavy melee in the way here. That might be a dead Dreadnought here for Toil. Blood Crusher is going to start hitting it, but Dreadnought was also cannon currently not firing at Toil's Dread here. ASM are going to lose a model or two here. Shotgun Scouts on the right hand side, these Scouts have been upgraded. Blood Crusher is chasing it a little bit too hard here. We do have the Summoning Circle. Meanwhile, some Doombolts in base here. That Dreadnought on 42 HP. One more hit should be enough. Or maybe two more hits then. But it's been healed slightly. Oh, the heals at the last second are going to be a bit too much of a pain. Missile Launcher will be able to kill this Blood Crusher. I don't know if this was a bit of an overcommitment here to try and kill this Dreadnought. Overall though, we do see the Mark of Tzeentch upgrade coming in for these Havocs. So a last cannon here for Shroom in the mid-side of the map, but Heretics are on the way to try and provide some repairs to the Dreadnought. But Toil so far not happy due to it being a Swift Saber map. So last cannon has now been revealed as it does fire against some infantry. Chaos Sorcerer will cast some Doombolts there. Doing a decent amount of damage to these two units in the area. But Mark of Tzeentch CSM picking up a Devastator model there very quickly. You know, Dreadnought and Heretics and Raptors here to try and counter any ASM on the field, but in fact these Mark of Tzeentch CSM being left to their own devices, and that should not be the case. They will remain on 4 models surprisingly, but are brought down quite low due to that fight. So Shroom is going to try and hold control of the center of the map. We need to capture this right position point on the right hand side as well at some point though. A second Devastator squad here for Toil as well. Not sure if it was intended to be a source of suppression. That CSM squad should probably run back to base. It's just so low at the moment, it will just die to anything firing assets for now. Chain's Torment is going to go down to lock down the APO and these ASM. There's not too much in the way of range damage for now, so these ASM will be locked down for a little bit. Chaos Sorcerer can try and cast down some Doombolts as well. Provide some decent area, although it comes in a little bit too late as the ASMs are able to avoid a couple of shots of that. Angel's Death activated to prevent any units from being knocked over as well. The Dreadnought here for Shroom should probably try and melee down these ASM rather than trying to leave it by itself. It's actually a multi-melter, so multi-melter versus autocannon. In this particular case, the multi-melter is going to win every time. Mark of Tzeentch CSM taking quite a lot of damage. That is going to be a dead Dreadnought. One more multi-melter shot, but it's focusing infantry instead. But the Melter Bomb should be enough to finish it off. Multi-melter will be able to get that shot needed, and Chaos Sorcerer may end up going down, but the Raptors are going to get focused instead, and that's going to be a dead Aspiring Champion. 273 VPs, 320, but Shroom has lost so much of his army, and with that Dreadnought still alive, that is going to be a massive pain to deal with. We do see Shroom is going to take up to tier 3 to try and get Predator around the field. He does have the power to do so, but he is lacking in terms of wreck very heavily. Meanwhile, for Toil, we do see some further upgrades get purchased. It's going to be the Armor of Purity. It does allow the APO to heal a bit quicker since it does reduce the cooldown of it by 35%. No, ASM level 3 with their sergeant. Tactical Marine still equipped with a missile launcher. We could see a plasma gun get equipped instead. Now Chain's Torment going down once again, but not coming down in time as these ASM were already midway through the air. So journey to the farm, currently under threat, although Shroom is not too bothered about that, does have 140 power in the bank. And this Dreadnought is definitely taking its time to try and bash the multi-mouse. That does a lot of damage on hit, but do a high amount of consistent damage. Devastators and Scouts will be forced off, and I'm kind of surprised that Toil did go for this other Devastator squad, which seems like a bit of an odd purchase this late in the game. You know what, no aspiring champion here for this Markham Zinch CSM squad. They were lost earlier.
Understood.
So in this particular case, I believe Shroom would have been better off had he skipped the Dreadnought altogether and just saved up for a Predator to begin with, but we do see that happening now. He's going to get a Predator of his own. And this Dreadnought is not fully healed up at the moment. It is level 2 though, so it does have a higher maximum health in comparison to normal. But with these Tactical Marines still having their missile launcher equipped, it will make it a little bit harder for a Predator to try and work on the field. The Chain's Torment will go down. I feel like Sorcerer should have saved the Doom Bolts for when the Chain's Torment actually went down, so that he could have actually landed a shot fairly easily. He's not each CSM though, still doing a decent chunk of damage to these Tactical Marines, but overall Shroom is just getting bullied off the field altogether, and the map is slowly being consumed by Toil in the mid-side. But with the Predator, it could potentially change things. We could see a Mark of Zinch upgrade for it, so that it's got the twin-linked last cannon upgrade, but we could also just see the Mark of Corn upgrade, since it does improve the damage of the main cannon of the Predator, making it more effective against vehicles and also infantry at the same time. You can even go for the Mark of Zinch upgrade if you really need the anti-vehicle damage. Say if you're hunting down multiple Dreadnoughts on the field. Though Toil also going to be going tier 3 himself, could see some Terminators get out into the field. These Terminators can be equipped with an assault cannon to try and poke down any sort of infantry on the field. Alternatively, we could see Vanguard Veterans, but I don't think Vanguard Veterans would be the right choice here, given that the mouse bomb will still be required against this Predator. However, it depends if Toil sees Predator, which he now does. Still no upgrades on the Predator as of yet, so we should see the Mark of Corn upgrade then come in potentially, but I don't think we can afford it as of yet. For some reason he did go for the Sigil of the Rift upgrade here, so I don't know if this was to try and teleport his Havocs to try and hunt down the enemy Dreadnought, or to try and warp in enemy Devastators, since there are 2 squads of them on the field. So Sigil of the Rift was changed in the most recent patch to try and make it a bit more desirable, due to it having a high energy cost to actually cast the ability. So far Shroom does get control of the centre of the map, is trying to decap and cap up the requisition points where possible. A second set of Heretics has been purchased to provide repair support to the Predator instead. We're having to rely on the primary set of Heretics, which do have the aspiring champion, although they're currently on 5 out of 9 models, so probably need to get them reinforced at some point. So last cannon has been set up. There is the Sigil, so these Devastators is about to get pulled in. Where the Chaos Sorcerer is, I think it might be bugged actually. Retreat was broken here, but that Chaos Predator is quite low at the moment. Missile launcher might be able to finish it off, and yep, those Devastators are currently bugged at the moment. So Sigil of the Rift has been used to bug out those Devastators. So yeah, they can't retreat, so they will set up here on the top side to try and fight. Will deny the Predator from coming to that area, but overall probably not the desired outcome, as you're still having to pay upkeep for those Devastators. So surprisingly, going for the Sigil of the Rift there, could have potentially gone for the subjugation instead. Could have potentially subjugated these ASMs, jumped them into the enemy Dreadnought, tried to throw a Mouse Bomb against the enemy Dreadnought as well. Still no upgrade on this Predator though. I'd like to see the Predator upgrade, at least the Mark of Corn upgrade. But looks like Shroom is going to be forced off here over his natural VP. Chaos Sorcerer going to try and do what he can, but is not going to be enough. That Predator is just not quite having the impacts needed without this upgrade. It's going to try and drive to the right hand side, but just needs to be careful as that right hand side has got this permanent Devastator set up here. Well, currently they're not actually set up at the moment by the looks of it, or they're set up facing the wrong direction. But they're going to set up this direction once again, and we'll start firing at that Predator. Assuming they get vision of the Predator. So we do have the aspiring champion for this Mark of Zinch squad once again. Could be a dead Apo. No, those Devastators will eventually fall down now. Devastators, they're going to lose another model. This Chaos Predator now starting to have a bit more of an impact, but Mel's Bomb about to go down. Missile launcher shot also lands as well. And Shroom BPs are taken down fairly quickly. Sorcerer does go off to the right hand side to try and capture the BP while the fighting is ongoing, but Bloodletter's quite low. There is some worship support, so they will try and regen up a little bit. And Raptor's going for a Melter Bomb upgrade in the halfway through the fight there. No Melter Bomb has been used as of yet, so 10 scouts actually going to be throwing grenades in this fight as well, just to try and kill any sort of infantry there, and Shroom is going to be forced off. Last cannon will fire at this Dreadnought, and we're going to see the Mark of Zinch upgrade coming in here, but maybe not the best spot to go for this upgrade. Scout's going to be infiltrating further forward. Actually going for the VPs directly. Chaos Sorcerer will stop one of them from getting the decap, meanwhile the other one is currently idle at the moment. This Predator is getting a little bit close. Needs to be very careful. That Multi-Master does a lot of damage per hit. The Chaos Sorcerer may end up going down here. ASM and Dreadnought on retreat. Dreadnought forces melee, should be able to pick up the Chaos Sorcerer and toss him aside. But Shroom is going to call GG here. Unable to win the game. Was going to lose that Predator, and Toil is going to take game 2. Says he's done for the day and is going to do game 3 tomorrow instead. So we're not going to have a conclusion to this series this evening. So, with there not being a game 3, I believe we will probably end up calling an end to the evening and probably resuming Elite League games tomorrow. I don't think there's anyone else really online to play Elite League games. At 12, I don't know if you left the game a bit too soon, but Shroom says that he wants to play game 3 tomorrow. He is done for today, he said. So we'll have to schedule that in at some point. Probably get some Elite League games, I guess, before the tournament starts tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be a really long day in terms of streaming, if we're going to have the tournament and some League games beforehand as well. So with that in mind, I am going to be taking a break for this evening, because I did stream earlier today. I've been streaming now, and it's currently midnight, so I'm going to chill out for the remainder of the evening, get myself some dinner, and prepare myself for tomorrow. It is tomorrow, isn't it? Saturday. Yeah. So monthly Rumble Team Tournament tomorrow, number 36 is occurring, so if anyone has not signed up, go sign up now. There is still time to do so. If you are not planning on signing up, then definitely just put the stream on and watch it throughout the day. Hopefully there should be some good 2v2 games. We'll make a change from the masses of 1v1s that we have had of recent. But in the meantime, I'm going to be off. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you around next time.